Nope, no, try it now. Welcome to the live. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I've got new settings set up on the mic, so hopefully nobody complains of a quiet mic this week. So let me know if you can see and hear me okay in the chat. Do. Good start, Mike. Yep, I'll be right. It'll be right on the night. Always be right on the night. 5 by 5. Loud and clear. Hopefully that's the same for everyone, because somebody perfect audio. Thank you, Guardian. It is your live tonight, not my live, so I've posted the StreamYard chat in there a couple of times, so you're welcome to come on. It's the same reason this is not monetized or anything like that, so we can talk about what we want to talk about. And tonight is kind of the thumbnail makes it look like a very delicate subject, but it's not essentially. It's looking at what we're seeing around us, the violence going on, and how that's starting to fall into almost into religions. And I'm saying that because we've seen a resurgence of Christianity in a way, and a lot of younger males finding faith, which never used to be the case 10 years ago. It was the most like agnostic, or, nobody believed in anything in the UK. So it's kind of, I don't know if the resurgence of that is a combat towards other religions, but it's not just them two religions. Obviously, we've had the synagogue attack, which was clearly religiously motivated as well. So all these things are happening, and yeah, that's the kind of subject we're talking about, and what's the likelihood of it. As per usual, feel free to say what you like in the chat. You will be moderated. Please don't use this as an excuse or a platform to be any form of racist or anything like that, or say anything derogatory about other people like that. You'll just be banned and you'll never come back again. Simples, okay? So the link is in there. Hopefully people will join and we can just have a chat about general things and prepping and whatever you want to talk about. But first of all, I asked Gemini. So yes, AI, I know, sue me for using AI, I apologize. But I asked Gemini, what would religious war look like in the UK? And it says any religious-based conflict in modern UK would almost certainly not be a conventional war, but would manifest as escalating civil unrest, community violence, and extremist attacks. So the first sentence there, we can pretty much check all them off the boxes. Then it goes on to say, escalating communal violence and riots. Rather than armies clashing, it would involve localized riots, street fighting between groups in specific segregated neighborhoods, similar to sporadic incidents seen in cities like Leicester. These clashes are often triggered by global events, provocation, and disputes. So yeah, we've seen this. This is happening. We are in this. Targeted extremist attacks involves terrorism, targeted violence are small. Now, we've not really had that directly on churches and Christianity over here in this country yet, but it is happening in other places. I'm not saying this is the culprit and this is the culprit. I'm not slating anyone. Everyone's got the right to believe in whatever they want. But we have seen it happening in other countries on a large scale. So is it a matter of time, or is it just not thought about as much in this country? I think the UK is thought of as a non-religious country because we've got so much separation now between religion and the monarchy, religion and state and the parliament and stuff like that. It plays no part in any of our politics, as opposed to our cousins across the pond, where politicians are happy to stand up and say, thank God for people coming out and voting for them and stuff like that. We just don't have that over here. Targeted extremist attacks was the next point, which, we've seen. Their places, specifically, if it was religious conflict, it would be their places of worship or key figures. In the UK, has seen attacks targeting Muslims, Jews, and other groups, and often perpetrated in the name of a specific religious or political ideology. attacks on institutions and infrastructure, widespread hate and intimidation. I don't think we're at that stage yet. You've got widespread outrage and hate towards possibly the lean of politics, and I think that's what it boils down to. I think when people pull up like, oh, it's supporting this cause, it's supporting that cause, it boils down to me to left wing and everything right of that, and that's the two sides. Political and media exploitation. Well, we've just seen that with the BBC, who are hopefully getting sued by Donald Trump, which was fun. That's another talking point if anyone wants to come and talk about that. Historical context. Oh, hang on. Oh, press the right button. There we go. Hello, Guardian. Hello, Dios.
Good evening, gents. Good to see you. Hey, panel. Hey, chat.
Are you okay? How you doing?
I cannot hear you guys on my headset. I don't know what's going on here.
All right. Okay.
You still can't hear us, Dios?
I might have to back out and come back in or something.
All right. Okay. No problems.
I can't hear you guys, but obviously you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, turn your camera on and just hold up signs. Sorry, Guardian. I'll pull you in a second. I just want to pull up this historical context bit. The crucial to remember that the UK has a history of violence, religious conflicts, primarily the wars of three kingdoms, including the English Civil War, 17th century, where primary division was between Christian denominations, Anglicans, Puritans, Catholics, and Presbyterians. This era featured political and military conflict and persecution. So yeah, we've got a history of it. And we've seen stuff on our streets that's a bit sketchy. So yeah, that's the topic, Guardian. I don't know what it's like where you are, religious wise. Is it a heavily religious place? Is it not so much?
So I think it might be because of our locations, but we've been keeping very heavy tabs, and maybe within the preparedness world as well. What we do is we keep tabs globally, right? So we've been very closely watching what's happening over in the UK and throughout Europe. Not only in the UK, but there's several hotspots at the moment within the UK. And I think there is, obviously, I do absolutely respect all people, first and foremost. And when it comes down to speaking from a reference of South Africa, we've had a pretty rough past, as everybody knows. So we've actually had to overcome a lot of the things that we're starting to see take place in other parts of the world. We've actually had, and maybe this is a good thing, that we've actually had our scars and our wounds, and we're actually on the way to some of those scars healing. And of course, it depends on who you ask. But if you ask the general population, you know, if you ask 100 people, the consensus will generally be that people are trying to overcome, the differences between, there'll always be like hostility between certain groups on the radical side, and you'll always find that. But I think that commonality and rationale and reasoning is winning at the moment over here locally. And I think that what you guys are experiencing in the UK is rather different. So I do speak with utmost respect that I'm not in the UK right now. I'm not experiencing what you guys are, but I do understand that it's important to realize that, and this is really the crux of what I really wanted to come up and say, is that sometimes that division is driven by the leadership and the higher up people as well that have a lot to benefit. They've allowed certain things to go on for certain reasons. I don't think that they plan for a year ahead. I think that they plan sometimes for a decade ahead. And I do think that this is potentially organized by themselves as well, because for what reason I can't get into.
Our government can't plan anything a decade ahead. They've destroyed their own party. They've got 3 years left and potentially lose any chance of power for the next 20 years from what they've done to the country. I suppose you're on that healing cycle where you are. I think we are the other end of that, before kind of that peak, if there is one. Hopefully there isn't. I'm the same as you. Hope nothing happens. I respect everyone's right to do whatever they want, but when they start attacking and persecuting other people, that's when something has to happen. So,
Of course, yeah.
Brian said, I gave up watching Funky Ninja for this. And £2 super chat. Thank you very much, Brian. And Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who is not actually that person. Parts of Birmingham, Oldham, Blackburn, Burnley, Bolton, Bradford, Leeds, Leicester, Luton, parts of London will all be bad if it pops off. Yeah. It's very... So the communities where this violence happens are very... together, they're already very congregated, as it were. Where the synagogue attack happened down the road from me in Manchester, that is a huge Jewish community. Like the houses, the shops, the schools, absolutely everything. It's a complete 100% Jewish community. Whereas I think British people and Christians in general, we don't do that as much. It feels like that's an old pilgrimage thing. We'd go off to the west and they'd settle as a settlement, and there'd be a religious settlement that way. In this country, we don't talk to our neighbours. We don't really congregate much. Most churches that I know around here are now apartments or nightclubs or derelict. There's just, we don't have that. So I can't see how. I see it more of escalating violence that police have to deal with than an actual religious kind of war.
Good point. I do understand that as well, and that's why even through your protests and through what's happened previously within this year, like all of it, we really do try to keep tabs on exactly what's happening. I don't know if just for a moment before I continue that thought, Dios, are you okay?
I don't think he can hear us still.
I can't get my freaking headset to work. I don't understand. The wired microphone is not working on my computer, so I'm gonna have to bail out. I'm gonna have to restart the entire computer and then see if I can get back in. Because
can you right click on the sound settings on the computer down at the bottom and change the output device?
Well, the problem is, it's like I said, I plug this in, and you'll be able to hear me still, but I can't hear you. It's still muted. I don't understand. I'm about ready to just. Oh, now I can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
I was about ready to bail out.
We've got you. Sorry, I was just looking through the comments there. This has been on the cards for over 40 years. All major security organizations worldwide had a huge meeting. The outcome was the Extreme M, where the biggest threat to the world's security. Okay. There's no go zones both ways. There is. I have no doubt of that. Yeah. This is, like I say, this stream in no way is to take sides, to condone any sort of violence or anything like that. It's just discussing what we're witnessing and seeing, and how as preppers we react to that, and how we can react to that, and what can be done if anything. So that's kind of what it's all about. So I'm not here recruiting for Mike's army for any reason whatsoever. There's no such thing. So yeah. Dios, I was just saying about the separation over here between politics, royalty and religion, which is completely away from all of that. It's not so much in the States. It's quite involved still, right?
Yeah, like you're talking about like separation of state and religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. But I mean, default, a lot of people either identify as Christian or, like a lot of our values are still founded on Christian beliefs. Like, I think a lot of it was because it was to spite the Church of England, because like, I think at one point in time that was the driving force between England, if I'm not mistaken, was the Church of England.
Yeah.
And the founding fathers, like I said, they were trying to separate the powers, and like I said, they were trying to be what do you call it? What's the word I'm thinking of? Oh my gosh, secular, a little bit more secular. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah, because in England it was heavily Catholic at one point, and it was I mean, somebody's going to shout at me for getting all my history wrong here, but I believe it was Henry VIII that set up and implemented the Church of England, which kind of then became the biggest thing after that. Nelly says, I agree there might be fewer Christians around the UK, but it's more about culture, surely. This is why I said the religion, I think people are latching onto it, and I don't think it's the biggest factor. When you say culture, this is what I mean by extreme left and extreme right. We have that worldwide. We have left-leaning people, we have right-leaning people, and we have the extreme of both ends. We have that worldwide. All countries have that. And I think that's what's causing the biggest conflict here. The fact that they want to jump on religion is an excuse. If they want to jump on a cause, like they want to jump on campaigning for Gaza as a cause, that's an excuse. If that wasn't an issue, if that was all resolved tomorrow, peace, love and harmony in the Middle East, they'd find something else. So they'd jump on something else.
It's about ideologies. And I think that it goes much deeper than that. You're absolutely right. You can't, for people to understand that harsh times as well, draw people nearer to faith at times too. That's why you'll find sometimes within prison systems that a lot of people actually start leaning on God, because they start, just through those terrible times, they need something to lean on. Even through warfare, through war times, religion actually becomes a lot more prominent of an aspect of culture. So when you're looking at the way that things are around the world, and specifically over there with you guys at the moment, there is a certain, we need to be realistic and we need to be rational. We also need to tread, as you say, tread carefully as well to a degree, because words do matter, and everything that we say does account for something. Words have changed history, and words do mean a lot. But the truth is a mighty sword, is it not? So the thing is that if you're capable of wielding the sword, but doing so in a very strategic way that is not intended to rile people up, because then you fall victim to being exactly the same problem that people that are violent and aggressive are, correct? And you don't want to fall into that same kind of compartment. I think that realistically there are good people from all sides, and we all can concur with this. It's absolutely, it's understandable that we need to be kind to other fellow human beings. I mean, how are we supposed to get along if we can't even get along with each other? Like, how are we supposed to do anything in the name of progress and the human race, right? We need to progress for the generations that are coming below us. Like for the next generation, we need to make sure that this world is as positive as possible. And if we do end up having mass infighting through the different areas where things are starting to heat up across the world, we're going to end up with lots of problems, because it's that whole thing where at first they came for the Jews and I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew, right? And then and it goes on, and you can, slant it if you want with that whole statement, but there is relevance to it right now within our times. It's crazy that we've just passed 5th of November. And as you know, the 5th of November, for V for Vendetta fans, you'll actually be familiar with what that represents. And if you look at that movie, some of the same scenarios are actually playing out in real time. So, your thoughts?
You're right. It's scary, and it feels like that same old adage that you said. Nice people on both sides. 100% agree. But it's that same old adage, like a person is smart, but people en masse are dumb because they just go with the crowd. That's why if it's some sort of doomsday thing, that's why governments and people have to be careful when they announce it, when they say it, because it causes mass panic. You sit down and explain the situation to an individual, they'll get it, they'll be fine. But if you just announce it to thousands, then, that's a different thing. And MadFX says here, govs are making it a religious war to divide everyone and let them fight each other. This is the thing. It's riddled with conspiracy theories. And the only thing the issue I have with that is to what benefit? Who benefits? I mean, when it's an international war, a global war, like if it's Russia that we're all against, all our economies benefit. Pre-war economy is good for the government, yeah? But internal fighting, internal carnage, I don't understand the benefit of how that could potentially be a conspiracy. Happy to be corrected by either you on that one, because I just don't know. I just don't understand how it would benefit them.
Well, I was going to say it could give them an excuse to implement more controls over the individuals, over the masses, kind of like COVID-19.
Thank you, Shadow. Yeah. I mean that really did feel like a control exercise. As much as I say I don't do conspiracy theories, at the point where they're saying, let's see if we can get them to go outside every Thursday and clap, and oh look, they're doing it. Oh, let's see if we can get them to do this, and at the same time, our government is throwing a party.
Yeah.
Inside the government buildings. So yeah, it's interesting one, definitely. Sorry, that wasn't the one. West Ham has dropped the poppy as it doesn't align with their values. See, this is what annoys me. The poppy is for the sacrifice. And I don't know if you guys saw this because it was a British... I don't think you will have because it's a British TV thing. Let me just pull it up a second.
While you do so, a big hello to everybody that's in the chat. I see like quite a lot of good people. PK and Shadow as well is here. So good to see you, Evil Girl, and a couple of others. You really have a lovely community here, UK.
Yeah, there's definitely some characters in here. I'll say it the nice way. No, it's great. The best thing about this channel, I don't ever expect to make a living out of it. I don't expect to be able to leave my 9 to 5. Building the community has been the best thing for it so far. Speaking of community chat, I'm looking for the thing about the veteran speaking on the morning television in the Discord, and I cannot find it. If anyone can quickly find it and tag me in it on the Discord, that'd be helpful. Hello, I know. Do you know this feels weird? This feels weird. I'm going to put him up in the host position. There you go. Now I can sit back. Shadow's here.
Yeah, except you have to relinquish the actual controls to him.
I am going to take off my overlays there just so I'm not blocking you guys. Where have they gone? There we go. How are you doing, Shadow?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear loud and clear, Mike.
How are you doing?
Ugh. Tired, exhausted. I had to carry up my new bed on the top floor, 4 stairs. Oh. Man. 4 floors. Spiral.
This is what delivery men are for.
My body is so sore now.
I can imagine, Shadow. I can absolutely imagine that. I was thinking
of
you today. With that. Yeah. It's difficult work you do.
Kane has a really good point. Why should we worry about Putin when we are tearing ourselves apart? This is it. There's so many internal beefs that it's just insane that everything's going on at the same time. As a prepper, I have a pressure cooker to control the masses inside. I keep it balanced, or it'll either cook or explode. There you go. The country's a pressure cooker. The poppy is a symbol of remembrance. Yeah. I've got to mention, did somebody tag me in that? Yes, there it is. Thank you very much. Okay, let me just, you carry on talking a second. I'm going to find the bit.
Okay.
No stress. So, I don't know, Shadow, if you actually, like if you had to just say within the next, just as a bit of a wild, perhaps question, and you can obviously answer it as you deem fit, but do you think that there's a likelihood of there being internal conflict? And I'll phrase it in that way so that we can be, it's YouTube, so we need to tread carefully, as you can imagine, and this answer as well. And I know that you do, you're pro at this, at obviously understanding like the that
You mean in UK or US?
No, in the UK, internal conflict within the United Kingdom. Do you think that that's something that's, because there is a possibility to it, but how hard do you think that possibility is?
In my opinion, it's a possibility that can be, but the question is when and where.
Not a bad question.
Yeah.
There.
Well, my question is, to a degree, to an extent, is how, because the UK people have been pretty much neutered when it comes to, self-defense or, the application of law.
Yeah, we're not stopped from owning stuff. We just cannot use it in any way, shape, or form. We cannot even use pepper spray. It's insane.
That is disturbing. In South Africa, you can definitely use it. You can't either, Shadow?
No, we are not allowed to use pepper spray here.
They encourage it here.
It's only for the police and security guards.
And there's no viable argument or reason for that I've heard yet. And if I'm wrong, chap, please by all means put it in, because it's not anything that has any sort of lasting effect at all. Yeah, it doesn't have any lasting effect. It happens immediately. Now, people say, yeah, but if you can use it for defense, they can use it for offense, and they might try and mug people. Listen, if they're a mugger and they're after your money, they can get something sharp and pointy that's much more scary. If they're holding me up with mace, I think I've got a better chance than them holding me up with some sort of deadly weapon, screwdriver, anything like that. To say that we're taking mace off people so they can't do bad things is ridiculous. Just harsher punishments. If somebody discharges mace in public and it's unjustified, they'll get harsh punishments. It'll only happen a few times before people realise. Think how many uninvited sexual encounters it would avoid.
That is the point that I was going to make about defending and what people can have on their person just for self-defense. I think that should be something that is a major deterrent. The fact that people can't equip that with them, and I know that the differences between genders and that as well. It makes no sense why a woman can't carry one in her handbag or anything like that. That should be absolutely allowed. I mean, at bare minimum, right?
Yeah, exactly. And everything else that they've banned has been through a pinpoint incident. So they banned handguns when some absolute idiot nutter went into a primary school and shot it up with handguns in Scotland, right? So handguns would just, that's their answer for everything. Ban it. I can't find the incident that banned pepper spray. They just decided because it's a projectile and it's an irritant, it comes under the firearms law.
Yeah, the same here. It goes under the gun law here.
Which is insane. Well, let me show you this now. I've got it up just so I can get it off my screen. This is, let's see what you guys think of this. This is the general feeling. It's a veteran. Yeah. He's a 100-year-old veteran.
I am
from World War II.
Your subject after you're done showing us, okay? Because
no problem at all. But I just want to get your take on this. Also share system sound. Okay, hopefully, guys, you hear this at the same time.
Uh-oh. I can't hear anything.
Can you not hear that?
No, audio's not coming through. No.
Okay, hang on.
I thought it was just me.
You could try put subtitles on, maybe. I'm sure that might work.
It's one of these that works. It'll do it. There we go. Share tab audio. Right. Okay, let's try this now. Right, let me know.
What does Remembrance Sunday mean for you?
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
What is your message?
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye there was rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
What do you mean by that, though?
What we fought for, and what we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now it's downright worse than what it was when I fought for it.
Oh, Alex.
So there you go. It's a full 8-minute segment with him, but to hear a veteran saying that is kind of heartbreaking in this country. There's not many veterans left from World War II. And to say that he fought for our freedoms and he himself can look and see that our freedoms are just being stripped back one at a time. It's horrendous. Yeah, definitely. Bless this man. God bless this man. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
I hope they don't round him up and throw him in prison for saying that,
I think he's got to the age where he doesn't give a crap right now.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, yeah, they really suck to spend the last of your days on this earth, in a prison like that.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I think the outrage would be way too much. That would be the match that lit the tinderbox completely. But I'm glad that he said it on live national TV. Yeah, because
they didn't cut the broadcast either.
Exactly, because if that was some far-right activist, they'd have cut that, they'd have censored it, they'd have changed it, they would have never put him live in the first place. Because it's a lovely, sweet old man, they thought, oh, we'll put him live.
Well, hang on. You guys had Afghani vets, right? You guys had yeah. So if it was, just think, all right, if it was like a Gen X Afghan vet or older millennial Afghan vet, he'd be arrested. He'd be arrested.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate it, but I can see them spinning this narrative of him being that old and not quite thinking right. That's the narrative they'll try and spin, I think, on that. So yeah, that's the feeling of the country when it's people like that who have actually signed up, fought, and lost his friends for our country during a world conflict, and he's saying that. It's a sign of the times, which is really scary. Sorry, Dios, you wanted to pick up on the topic.
Sorry. Damn it! Now I lost my friggin' train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Oh shoot! Dang it! Where? I need to replay the live stream for before we start playing that little clip.
If you
that's right. Just disarming people.
Good.
We were talking about like it's supposed to make people safer and all that. Sorry. It's like I remember in Germany for the longest time they had issues of certain demographics of migrants, of certain religious ideological beliefs running over citizens with trucks. And Germany, you can't, to my knowledge, you can't own a firearm. It's like an extensive amount of training you have to go through and so many different permits you have to get, and you have to get a hunting permit, and it's so rigorous to get a hunting license over there. And that's the only reason I own a firearm in Germany, as far as I'm aware. But like I said, these guys are just, that's all it takes is just a crazy guy to get into a vehicle and mow a bunch of people down.
It's crazy because we are probably one of the strictest when it comes to the procedure to getting firearms. I mean, which I'm all for a procedure in place. I'm not saying let's start selling them in the corner shop to anyone sort of thing. I'm all for, checks, stuff like that. Somebody's got mental health problems, probably it's best not giving them a semi-automatic rifle kind of thing. But it's got to the point where it's a free-for-all. It's a free-for-all. You imagine, theoretically, you're wanting to cause havoc somewhere in the Western world. Yeah, you pull out your map and stuff like that, and the laws and stuff like that. And the UK, you can get away with something with a simple kitchen knife for so long before police response times. You can drive a car through a load of people. There's no citizens that can stop you. Yeah. Armed police are few and far between. They're on major cities and major events and stuff like that. But local bobbies in a small town, they're not carrying any sort of weaponry sort of thing. They've got the mace and stuff like that, which is going to splash off your windscreen. They've got the taser that's going to ping off the car. They could cause absolute havoc. So looking at that map and choosing the destination, it's like, well, I could get in there easy. They'll support me while I set it all up, and then I can go and do my thing.
Yeah.
We're inviting it.
I was going to say, over here in the States, we've got a lot of people that, what do you want to call them? They're, man, well, I'm sorry. I hate it when I forget terminology, but they're complacent. You know, they're a little bit complacent. They don't understand. It's like you're your own first responder. You know, like we've got the ability to defend ourselves. Yeah. Yep. No one's coming to save you. Exactly. But like I said, there's a lot of people that don't understand that grasp. Even there are people out there in the States that, you know, that carry firearms, and there's some that do not understand that. There really is, you know, genuinely is. They don't quite fully grasp that. You know, some people they strap a gun on and it's literally a fashion piece for them. You know, like they have no intention of using it, and their first instinct is to call law enforcement. But even here in the States, you know, most places you're looking at least a minimum of 20 minutes. You know, the average response time for any emergency services, including police.
Yeah. And that's probably in the major built up areas. If that was somewhere more rural, because even though it's a rural area that might have a town sheriff, something like that.
You could be looking at an hour, but like I said, it's nothing like what you guys have to deal with over there in UK. I'm actually astonished that you're looking at least 2 hours or at a bare minimum.
Oh, some things that just don't justify them coming out. So I know people that had intruders inside the house and they rang from upstairs, and they stayed on the phone with the police operator for a good 10 minutes while these people rummage around. And then he said, I think they've left. They've took whatever, you know, they ransacked downstairs and then they went. It was a quick, you know, opportunist thing, obviously. And it was at least 2 or 3 hours later, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, the police knocked on the door to check if everything was okay.
So if we to approach this topic honestly and looking at that veteran and what he had to say too, and you could see a lot through more than just what he was saying. You could see like that he has legitimately experienced, you know, a long life, and he has fought for something that absolutely should be protected. And I think that in the modern world, in the year of 2025, there is no like room for people that will, and this needs to be said very carefully, and I understand that, if people are going to be violent towards other people, the law should be strong enough that those people who are violent do not get let out again after committing a violent felony, and they have repeat offenders, and they are very soft on crime, and there are specific reasons. And you could go back and say, yes, but why do we have borders? We have borders for the same reason, and this is a very valid point that gets brought up. Yes, but why do we have borders? Good to see you, but so quickly I'll say this.
Brian, your audio's feeding back. Have you got it on the TV or something? Brian, your audio's feeding back. Have you got it on the TV or something? Yes, he had us on TV. Sorry, carry on, Guardian.
No. So I'll try and be as concise as I possibly can about the point to bring as much value as I can in a short amount of period. And what I'll say is that there's a reason why people prefer having walls around their house, and why your house has walls in general, and why you have borders around your property. It's the same reason why countries need barriers and walls. And if people are coming through illegal means, and that has been proven that has been the case, there should be very harsh punishments on people that, and I understand that the world at the moment is going through an immense, almost like a growing pain. And to sum it up as fast as I possibly can, because there's enough people in the panel to fill the space as well, and there's a lot of interesting ideas from all of us. So what I'll do is I'll say that the whole idea of living a free life where women and men, and in certain cultures, women are subjugated to laws which are completely unfair, in my belief. I would not want the whole world to follow the same suit and to have to wear to cover them up. Now, that's not my personal religious belief, but I believe in women and men having the same rights, being as free as possible to pursue whatever they can, because that is the whole definition behind the modern world, right? And women should not be afraid of going out in their local cities because of fear of being apprehended by men. I think that anybody that is caught out for doing anything like that, and there's solid proof, and because of technology, it becomes a lot easier to validate that proof as well. I think that crime should be handled like a lot more like harshly, if you want to put it that way. Women shouldn't be afraid to, because I'm a father, and women shouldn't be afraid in any way whatsoever. I'm also a husband, and I would hate for, even here locally, I mean, across the world, there's dangers about women going out and stuff as well. But I think that if there was much more harsher crime, and I really believe this, that women would feel a lot more free. So when it comes to the civil war aspect, I think that people are trying to fight for the freedom of all men and women, like from every background. If you want to practice what your faith is and religion is, that's fine. Practice it in your home. But don't go and enforce certain restrictions, such as Sharia law, and I have to say that, on an area that was
I agree. Thank you.
That was right, and that was originally built and designed and structured up by people that worked their sweat and tears to build that place up that it was. And then you get a large amount of people moving into that have completely different beliefs, and those same people that used to call that home aren't even allowed to go in there because of fear of being assaulted. Where is the justice in it? If you even take on a scientific level, you can measure the way that chimpanzees are, and they've done experiments on this. Even chimpanzees understand what is fair and what isn't fair. There's a lot happening right now that isn't fair. You cannot enforce your beliefs upon your fellow man because in your home you practice a certain religion, so everybody must follow that law, or else they get into big trouble with the way that they believe and reinforce things. So I just think that there is, and I'm sorry to touch on a bit of a sensitive topic, but I believe in the freedom of the Western world, and I believe that America is an amazing place, and so is the United Kingdom, and there's also amazing places all throughout Africa where they practice freedom, where people have the capability and the freedom to believe whatever religion they believe at home, as long as they're not enforcing it on other people. So it's just my 2 cents about it.
Yep, we lost Brian on connection there, I think. He'll rejoin. I tend to agree. There's nothing I don't agree with on that, whatever what you say. And I think that's one of the big problems here. That's where a lot of the outrage is coming from the UK population. It's nothing to do with the people that are outraged. It's generally nothing to do with, we don't agree with certain things. We don't agree with certain culture aspects and things like that. Fine. You're always going to have clashes like that. But it's the unjust levels in this country that you can do something horrendous to another human being and then in 2 years be let out, yet you can also put a nasty tweet out and be in prison for 12 months for saying something. There's harsher punishments on freedom of speech than if you decided to give a backhander to a family member in public. You know what I mean? It's the scales of punishments are just ridiculous. So, welcome, Brian. You weren't joining tonight. What swayed you? What made you itch so much that you had to jump in?
Mostly the ones about the confusion over UK firearm laws. It's bollocks, for want of a better word. There's not that there's a lack of firearms in the UK, but they're so heavily restricted and licensed. There's more than 500,000 legally held in England and 220,000 in Scotland. But if you were to even suggest, mention or hint the word self or home defence in your application or your home visit, you will never shoot as much as a badger's arsehole.
No. You'll have your catapult taken off you.
And that was what I was talking about. That was exactly what I was talking about, was the strict regulations. I wasn't saying that you guys didn't have ability to possess them. I was saying,
oh no, it wasn't a dig, mate. It wasn't a dig.
That was also why I was referencing Germany too, because it's so ridiculously strict in Germany. In fact, I think it's stricter in Germany to have a firearm than it is in England.
I had to explain to my son a bit about the law. So if you were upstairs and somebody was burgling your home and you obtained your keys, went to your cabinet, unlocked it, unlocked your ammunition locker, loaded it up, went downstairs, and shot somebody who was tumbling over your house, you're going to jail. There's no ifs or buts, you're going to jail, because it wouldn't pass the reasonableness bar, because you're not allowed to do that here. So the only way you would not go to jail is if they had one foot in the bottom of the stairs coming up towards you. You've no means of escape, and you're literally on the phone to the police as they can hear you screaming, "Don't come up the stairs armed." Other than that, you're going to jail.
And even in that case scenario you're mentioning there, you'd still have a massive legal battle on your hands.
Oh, you're still going to jail. You'll be arrested on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be arrested on the spot. I mean, just for clarity, I have no issue with the current UK firearm laws. Are very, very stringent for a reason. I'm being so careful what I say here. I'm being so careful what I say. Just to explain the process to my friends from Europe and across the pond, if you apply for anything, you've got to have good reason. You will have to fill out a 4-page document. You have to have 2 referees that have known you for more than a period of time. You've got to justify every caliber that you wish to own and show good reason. The police will visit your home. They will check the cabinet is approved and it's bolted securely to the wall. They will tell you the number of each caliber of firearm you may own, and they will dictate how many bullets for said firearm you may own. That's basically how it is here. And then also your doctor has to sign the form and answer some questions, and they will put a flag on your medical records. So if you get prescribed medication for certain conditions or
anxiety, depression, anything like that,
then the police will turn up to your home and they will confiscate them. If you're not there, they will just cut them open with a still saw. And that part of it as well, I think that's a great idea. Also, you'll have an interview where you'll go through questions with them in your home. And incidentally, this is public information. This isn't anything nefarious or it puts firearms licensing in a bad view or gun ownership in the UK. I think it's a good thing for sporting purposes. It's just that a lot of people talk about it with regards home defence and self-defence, and it's so much of a non-starter here. But that's the reasons why. That's the process, what you do for what you want and what happens. So
the culture is very different over there from the US, like very, very different. But my understanding is like firearms license is very difficult to obtain over there, but a shotgun license isn't as difficult.
No. It depends. You just have so they're actually trying to abolish Section 2, which is shotguns now, which is 2+1 capacity. As it stands, that's less rigorous to obtain, and there's very little restriction on ammunition quantity. Section 1 requires an extra referee. You've got to justify caliber of firearm, and also they'll dictate the quantity of ammunition depending on what your good reason is.
Oh, even with shotgun license?
Not with a Section 2 shotgun. Oh, okay. So you'll have a Section 2 shotgun, which is limited in ammunition capacity. So it can only take 2 in the tube.
That's the one I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. 3 rounds total capacity. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. I wasn't talking about the shotguns with the extended tube capacity, because I know that falls under firearms license. Because like I understand that you guys have pump shotguns, you guys have semi-automatic tube-fed shotguns, but the tubes have like a plug welded inside the tube.
Some it's just a bit of plastic. But if you were to buy the extended tube and fit it, you're looking at 5 years in jail.
Yeah.
Without the license and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, you can't fire slug on that ticket. Section 2, you can't fire slug. Section 2, anything up to buckshot is fine.
Right. Hi, Jake. Welcome.
Hi, how's it going? That's
Not
quite
so bad.
interesting what Brian was saying there about the firearms and things like that. But a thing that someone said before, I can't remember who it was. It was about the pepper spray. That
yes.
You can't use pepper spray.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to use a fire extinguisher? Not to hit them with, but I mean to spray them with. So, like, let's say a powdered fire extinguisher, cover them, and make them look like they're full of bag of cocaine, you know?
the rules in this country are very. I mean, legally,
I love Brian.
yeah. It's. I think it's because he's on his phone and that. The rules are. You can't have anything as a weapon. You can't have anything as a self-defense weapon. You can't say, "I'm buying this wheel cleaner to stop people coming in my house."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
for cleaning wheels. However, if it's to hand when you're under threat and it's reasonable force, then yes, I think a fire extinguisher would come under that because it's going to disorientate them, but it's not going to cause lasting damage. So it would fall under that. The pepper spray is more like it's a deterrent in itself if we have it in this country, because if it becomes the norm to have it, there's always that risk that they've got it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking I'm gonna go up to that girl in the club that's rejected me 3 times and she's definitely not rejected me this time because I've had 27 pints of Stella and I know what's best for her, there's a risk that she's got pepper spray. So that plays on the mind and it instantly stops a few of them occurrences even happening because it's not worth the risk for them.
Right.
If she was carrying a fire extinguisher, you'd think, what the hell's she doing in the club for carrying a fire extinguisher? You know, you'd be calling the mental health board. But it's all about reasonable force. It's all about things to hand. This is why when Alan was on the show, World Survivalist, when we talked about self-defense not so long ago, he mentioned about how he chooses his lamps, his bedside lamps at IKEA.
Yeah,
and I have visions of him, like, you know, giving a lamp a swing to see how well it swings. So it's all about, if you use something on hand to defend yourself with, no law in this land is going to prosecute you.
Well,
but if you buy something, these people saying, "Oh, get some heat spray and put that in your purse and walk around with it," and you can just say it's muscles and stuff like that. The fact that you said that online, if that happens, there's a premeditation there to use it as a weapon. Instantly, that becomes a weapon. It's illegal.
100%. Well, I was thinking along the lines of like, because they're now doing sprays where it's not necessarily pepper spray. Well, it's like visualize spray to cover you in like a red ink. Well,
it's that FALP or something. I can't remember what it's called.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And I was thinking along the lines with a powdered fire extinguisher. Right, you spray someone with one of those. I mean, they are literally going to look like they come out the chalk mine. You know, they've been on a weekend bender full of cocaine. Like, they're going to look a mess. So it'll be a very easy target to spot.
I know we attacked somebody in a Prague hotel room with it, but that was just drunken shenanigans.
Call the paramedics for them because it's a chemical extinguisher.
Yeah, and like I say, if it was on hand and it was like, oh my god, my life's under threat, this is what I can grab. No one's going to prosecute you for that.
I think I'm gonna have to double check on this, but I think in the States, like, you can get in trouble. Some people they carry that wasp spray insecticide, you know, because it. Oh, hey, Bob. That stuff shoots like 25, 40 feet or something like that, and people have used that. But like I said, you can actually get in trouble for using that. Well, for misuse of that, and I think even if it was like a heat of the moment type thing, oh, this was nearby, you know, somebody might ask,
yeah, I mean,
why did you have a can of wasp spray, you know?
I mean, which is handy for me because Mrs. Urban Prepper is severely allergic to bee and wasp stings. So there's a reason to have that out and about, especially in the summertime. But I mean, I don't carry anything like that or anything. You know, best form of defense in the UK is get the hell out of there, avoid the situation. We've said this many times, and yeah, it's improvise, adapt, overcome. And the improvise section of that in the UK is the biggest caveat. On this train thing that happened, which you guys might have seen, might have not seen, terrorist attack on a train recently in the UK, going through a train with a knife. Yeah,
like the CCTV where everybody's getting off the train on the platform.
Yeah. So sorry, not a terrorist attack. We can't call it a terrorist attack because apparently it wasn't politically or racially motivated, but it was a guy causing terror. To me, that's in terrorist attack. It's the very definition.
It's two terms though, Mike, right? You've got terror and then terrorism. If you actually look at the definitions on Google, I mean, Google's, you know, a bit of a joke, but you get the idea. Terror is, like you said, without a political means. Terrorism is a political or religious means. The guy that defended from the attacker in one of the carriages did a recent interview. I think it might have been today or yesterday on TalkSport. And I listened to some of that, and it's quite interesting. And he was talking about the fact that if the guy had got through him, he would have stabbed and lashed out at everyone else in the carriage behind. And he ended up having lacerations to his hand, lacerations to his head. He survived, obviously. But
Yeah.
he very much so held the line, you know. And all
Yeah.
it takes in many cases is for a strong individual, not just physically, but in will-minded, to do a thing like that. It's risky. It's definitely risky, especially.
Of course, yeah. But in an enclosed space like that, you hope if you do it that people have your back. Apparently, there was an improvised. The only thing they had to hand was a bottle of Jack Daniels that somebody had there as well. So again, improvised.
Is this one of those cases where a purse fire extinguisher would have come in handy?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because as soon as that, I mean, it's an enclosed space, so you're going to piss a lot of people off, right? I've done the military training where you go into the CS gas chamber, you take your mask off. That stuff's not nice.
I've done.
It's
that
not
too.
good. It's not good. But I could still see today. I could probably see and be absolutely fine an hour or two after it. It's not a lasting effect. But in that instance, directly to his face, he'd have been like this. His first instinct would have been to drop that, to come to his eyes, to try and stop it. Then he could have been tackled without all them lacerations. Yes, it is a perfect instance of where that had come about. But we're not talking about that in the UK. Nobody's turning around and saying,
Actually, this should be a note for the ladies in the UK. Ladies in the UK, if you got a purse big enough, you need to start carrying a purse fire extinguisher.
Won't they have them on the train? Wouldn't it make sense to have fire extinguishers on the train?
They do have fire extinguishers in certain places on the train. It depends where it happens. And in the spur of the moment, I think a lot of people don't think and react. Us as preppers or survivalists or whatever you want to deem yourself as, when we go onto a train or when we go onto a bus, public transport, when we go into a restaurant, we notice the exits. We notice the tools. We notice the things that we could improvise with.
That's funny. Grumpy put on a humanity level. Please tell me the Jack Daniels bottle survived. That's brilliant.
Wow. Excellent, Grumpy. Thank you. I don't know is the answer.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, go on.
I just think that when it comes, good to see you, by the way, Pilgrim. So I just think that it comes down to like making sure that laws are enforced when it does come through to how to prevent all of this as well. I do believe that if the laws were stricter and there was more done about it and the media wasn't really playing the political game as much and just reporting on the bare truth, I think that there would be more accountability. And at the moment, when you're looking at the way that society is running, like the question of your stream is the UK heading for civil war now? You can look at a timescale of what has been happening over the last maybe decade to 2 decades, and where does that really lead down the road? Like, where does that lead in the next perhaps 10 to 20 years? It definitely comes down to there's two ways it could go, of course, right? One of the ways, and this is the way that I would hope for it to go, is that people do like that the radicals start to become a lot less radical, that there's less violence, that people are respectful for one another. And that really comes down to like kind of stopping where we're at the moment, because what happens is if we just continue down this path, I think that the question for your stream is an unfortunate one where I would lean it more past 50% towards it being a potential for that to be the case. Because people are seeing the injustice, and a lot of the times what you're doing now is you're silencing people and you're basically putting them in, you're using the justice system against people that are, speaking out against it. So now what you've got is you've got a silent majority, not only in the UK, but in different parts across the world, of people that are too afraid to speak out because they know that if they don't tread lightly, like on this,
they're weaponizing the justice system, as you say.
Absolutely.
Yes, they have done for a long time. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I
know the UK, like they were even talking about doing extradition from other countries if you speak negative things against the UK British government. They were saying the same. They were talking about that.
We've got a standing joke that it's heading for the film 1984, basically, and that's what it's genuinely feeling like. What I read out before was Google's AI Gemini. It was what would happen if we had a civil war in this country based on religion, sort of thing. the first two major points of escalating communal violence and riots and targeted extremist attacks have already been checked off. So that timeline you're talking about there, Guardian, it's definitely not like this. It's not a slow incline. It's gone like this. And since the last election, not that I'm saying it's all Labour's fault, but it is all Labour's fault and your fault if you voted for Labour. It's the last year. It's gone from that to this. It's just the incline has gone massively, and we're talking about this now as a more credible threat to UK preppers within our community, within our own private conversations, within our own families, more than we are potential World War III. Even when rockets are flying or over and when attacks are going and NATO airspace is being violated, you think that would be the first thing we'd jump on as YouTubers and as preppers, but it's not, because you've got to prepare for the most likely, and it's starting to feel like the more likely, and that's the scary thing.
I think like with the extremists, like Guardian says, they have to like come down a bit. They're not going to come down. They're like the bully. They're like the bully on the schoolyard. The only way they go away is if you basically out-bully them. You push them out, because these extremists, they do just keep pushing and pushing and they try their luck and then they'll go back, they'll reassemble, and then they keep pushing and pushing. And what they do is we're not going to be in a civil war anytime soon, I don't believe. Well, I do think we're in a political war. We're in an ideological war.
I don't think we're going to be in a civil war, essentially what we know civil war as. We've had the English Civil War, we've had the American Civil War. We're all very aware there's been civil wars in Africa as well. We're all very aware what a civil war looks like. I think what we're talking about in this country is mass civil unrest.
Yeah, political
that's
warfare.
That's more like what it's going to be. And you will get violent clashes, you will get casualties and stuff like that. But nobody's raising an army in a country that is this repressed. It could end up being a guerrilla style thing, and a resistance.
Like the Irish Troubles.
Yeah, exactly. And a resistance and an underground. And that's the kind of route it could potentially go down. But when you say civil war, people are thinking, regiments of troops marching at each other. That's not happening.
Am honestly like, at least for the States, I can't speak on your guys' behalf because I don't live there and I don't know the culture that well. And I've never been to England. Okay. But I always said that if there was going to be a second coming civil war in the States, it would look a lot like the balkanization of former Yugoslavia. Like, I still believe that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take, that. That's a very interesting take.
Yeah. Something, either that or maybe a little bit of Irish Troubles, but like I said, I'm thinking more balkanization because, I mean, the States, we are still very divided, like as far as like the different cultures are concerned between state to state.
Yeah.
But I was speaking to somebody about this in the States recently, Ration Nerd, funnily enough, who has a YouTube channel as well. He's been on the guest on the show a few times. And that separation through history has been based on state, right? Kind of, and obviously the Civil War was the North-South divide kind of thing. Mm. And he's saying, whether you agree or not, Dios and Bob, get your intake on this. He was saying that divide now is more rural to city.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what state it's in, it's rural to city.
That's pretty close. I would say about 90% accurate right there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like even in like, all right, so just because like we got a lot of people internationally, watching this, for lack of better terms, red over here in the States, that means you're conservative. If you're blue, you're a Democrat. Like I said, you're liberal. You're not libertarian. You're liberal. So like I said, you're more keen to socialism or socialism like aspects.
Mm-hmm.
There are red states like the great state of Texas that has blue cities, entire blue counties, that have historically always voted blue at every primary election. And we got cities that are basically swing cities, or 1 year they might vote red, another year they might vote blue, and it might switch back and forth. But yeah, it's basically what it's coming down to is, like I said, it's urban versus rural, because there's a bit of a disconnect, between the different values. A lot of people in these urban cities, these metros, they think just one size fits all. It's like it's not how it works out in the country.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I actually think, oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not just their political ideology, but it's a different culture completely, right? To be that inner city person compared to the people out in the country, and
and
policies affect people massively different
from being suburbanite and being an urbanite too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I was thinking along the lines of, like, you talk about like certain cities going blue and red. I've seen that from what I watch a lot that happens in the States, and I find it very interesting. Like, you look at California, for example, during COVID, many people fled California to go to Texas, like places like Austin and so on and so forth. And so the same thing that we've got in Europe with an influx of immigrants with a different mindset, America almost has it on a micro level with its own people. They migrate from one state to another, but then they forget that the reason why they fled that state in the first place.
And that's why you always hear about us, especially the Texans, and really anybody else. We're always bitching about those damn Californians. It's not, I always correct people. It's not the Californians that bother me. It's the Commifornians. I don't like Commifornians.
Communists, yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary that it's. What do you think of the, take away the dramatic and the Hollywood side of it? What do you think of the premise of the Civil War film they made? The recent one.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, but I mean, people were saying, "Oh, there's a lot of liberal undertones." I mean, I guess I wasn't picking up on them. I mean, it wasn't really all that overt to me. I mean,
that's Hollywood, though, right? Yeah. Hollywood doing its Hollywood thing and trying to subliminal message.
I mean,
and stuff.
I think, like I said, personally, I think it was a good film. I'd probably rate it like 3.5 stars out of 5 total. But like I said,
do you think that's how it'd be? Where they were going from these city hot zones into like the rural areas where like, the rule of law was the guy with the gun.
So I could definitely see it being where it breaks down in different areas, and that's what I was saying. Because like like the fall of Yugoslavia, it wasn't like the entire like everything was completely war torn. I mean, there was a lot of areas that was war torn, like Bosnia, Slovenia, and all that. Like I said, but I am certain that there were a lot of areas where, like you could probably even look at freaking the Russo-Ukraine war. Like, there's war both in the countryside, war in the urban areas, and war in the suburban areas. But I guarantee there's a lot of areas where it's not being war torn. It's not touched. It's like business as usual. I could very well see that being a thing, even in a place like the States. Now, the currency thing, like I said, and I thought I found that interesting they brought that in there. But like I said, the currency, that could be an issue where now instead of trading in U.S. dollars, we're trading in different foreign currencies, or we're trading in actual like physical silver or gold bullion for actual barter. Because I can't remember, would they barter like silver or gold for their gas, or was it Canadian? I can't remember.
I'm sure it was Canadian dollars.
Yeah. Canadian dollars, yeah.
Well, when you talk about the Yugoslavia ideal with the States, well, you've only got to look a little closer. The Soviet Union. Look at when they dispersed, there was many countries that were formed in the Soviet Union that have now gone their own way. Now, some people may argue, well, they were their own countries before the Soviet Union took them in, but then they had loads of like internal wars and political thing, and then they split off. So that could very well happen to America in hundreds of years. You're already seeing like certain
might not even take hundreds of years. That's the problem, because we've debased our own currency. We are the world reserve trade currency, but we could very well be thrown off our throne that we've established for ourselves by the Chinese yuan. I mean, maybe not necessarily Chinese yuan, but there's other currencies out there that are trying to make a run for the world reserve currency so they can use that for world business. As soon as that happens, I mean, states are done. As far that's our that paired with our military power and the fact that we were able to project so much military might, like we were one of the few countries on this planet that could fight 2 different wars on 2 different fronts at the same time.
Yeah, and
you kind of set up for that break apart as well, if that ever happened. And I mean, let's hope it never does. Let's hope everything we're talking about is theoretical and everything is sweetness and roses next year and so on. But you're kind of already built for that with the way you're structured. We're not like that in the UK, where you've got state laws, you've got national guards per state, you've got their own government per state. If it broke apart like the old Soviet Union, you've kind of already got the pre-set up governments per state there, right?
Yeah, a little bit of redundancy where each of the states are like a microcosm of the U.S. government, the U.S. federal government as a whole. Like
you could have the Texan dollar.
Texas, as far as I'm aware, I think they now made it legal to pay off debts, public and private, with bullion. Because Texas has been for the longest time trying to find a way to get themselves positioned so they can succeed. I do feel that if there's any state that actually does, like they're probably in the best position to succeed out of all the states in the union, it's probably gonna be Texas. Basically their own infrastructure, their own power grid, like their own dedicated power grid, their own industry, own petrochemicals, their own oil exploration, oil processing. Like I said, I said agriculture, own meat processing, own manufacturing. I mean, like I said, Texas would be positioned for it. Although I'm just going to say it won't be without a great cost or a great loss to, the people of Texas. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices if something like that was to happen. I'm just going to say this much though: states, as I mean, if Texas does decide to, succeed, I mean, I'm dead serious. I think I'll probably help them with their succession movement. But I kind of like us just continuing to be a part of the union. But if it gets to a point where the union gets so corrupt that we have to leave, then we're going to have to leave. But right now,
the sacrifices have got to be worth it, right?
Yeah, like I said, right now, there's too many benefits for us to be with the union right now. We're stronger together, but we could very well fall apart because, like I said, one of the turning points for the fall of Yugoslavia was the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and they lost their currency. That and the death of their leader Tito.
Yeah.
I recall a few years ago, there's a lot of rumors about the West Coast splitting off from the rest of the country. Idaho splitting away from Washington and Oregon and all that. I am not in favor of anyone splitting up the union for any reason. That is exactly what the enemy is waiting for.
They're already doing it, Bob. They're already doing it. Look at places like Minnesota and now New York. I mean,
but there's
all of our countries.
They're still within the union. They are still within the union.
For now, but all of our countries, European, UK, America, the reason why this whole topic of civil war, whatever the case may be, political warfare, it's all because all these things that's happening is from within. Now, I'm going back to what Guardian said earlier about like religions and stuff like that. Practice it in your own home, absolutely fine. But I do think this is my personal opinion here. I do think personally, Sharia law in the West is not what I want.
Nope.
And
I don't want it either.
If I'm going to call a spade, we have to be very careful with how the Muslim Brotherhood operates. If you look at places like the UAE, where they've designated them as a terrorist organization, they will not allow them in the UAE. And I think other Muslim countries are now slowly moving in that direction to also designate the Muslim Brotherhood. When you look at their charters of how they want to take over through civil means, it's a very serious thing that you've got to look at. It's a very, very serious thing, and it's a slow bleed. This is
the problem, that it's being allowed to happen anywhere. Because call me old school, But the phrase when I was a kid was, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." Right? That was the phrase when I was a kid. You go to a land, you use the law of that land. It's as simple as that. You cannot move somewhere, emigrate somewhere, or legally or not legally, whatever you decide to do, and then expect to run your own law, run your own, courts and systems and stuff like that. And if a country's allowing that to happen, they're inviting that civil unrest. They're inviting them riots. They're inviting them
I was
attacks.
going to bring up some points too. Like, okay, yeah, and like I said, you need to try telling that to people who practice the Islamic faith. I mean, they by and large, that's what they believe in. And like I said, I know this is like the extreme of the extremes. I kind of didn't want to go this route, but there's some of them that will be ultimately sympathetic to the cause. Like they'll have no choice. They're going to feel pressured, whether or not they enjoy the benefits of Western society or not. They're going to feel pressured. If you know where I'm going on this.
Can I just say, like Prepare the Path said, they're only mayors, they have little to no power. Absolutely. In the grand scheme of things, as it stands right now, that is what they have. But I have to say, this is only the beginning.
Yeah.
This is only the beginning.
It's the warning signs. It's that timeline.
They weren't even allowed to hold political office, but somewhere down the line here, they changed the laws here in the States. But they were not allowed to hold political office.
The most harm that a mayor can do is, or any politician can do to a population, is the people that they appoint.
Yeah,
like
they divert them.
They can appoint judges.
Yep.
They can appoint
chief of police.
Yeah. The infrastructure, they can appoint their lackeys who are with them. And that's where it starts to slowly break down.
Yeah, 100%. And it is a slow bleed. It's a very slow bleed.
Yes,
but eventually, over the course, because what they do, they start on a small scale community, and then they work their way. And I'm not saying this is Muslims, by the way. I got to make this clear. I'm talking about the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamists. So I don't want people to think that individual Muslims, because a lot of Muslims are actually just cultural Muslims. Their family are Muslims, so they practice Ramadan. They pray 5 times a day. They're not blowing themselves up. They're not stabbing people. We get this, right? I don't have to say this, but in today's world, if I don't say it, people are automatically going to jump ship and say that I'm a certain type of thing. And this is the reality that we're in. I said in the last stream about terrorist attacks, people are like, oh my God, it's getting so much worse. I'm like, you have no idea how much worse it's going to get. And Guardian, I think, made a point. Well, it might have been you at the start of the stream. You was on about South Africa. Like, South Africa's further gone than we are. And
it was Guardian,
And I thought that was a very interesting point. My friend Reggie, his dad, is South African. May his soul rest in peace. He passed away many years ago. But he told me a story about South Africa when he was in Johannesburg. And he said a very polite, nice, normal-looking, like non-threatening person said, please help me, my friends fell off my bike, He goes down this alleyway. They were actually mugging him, but they used an innocent person, someone who wasn't very big, wasn't very strong. And these are the little tactics when a society starts to fall that they start to implement, but they also do it politically. Like you say, why would we someone said in the chat, why would we let them have Sharia law? It makes no sense. What I mean by that is we don't let them have Sharia law, but ignorant people, I'm not going to mention.
We allow it to be practiced.
No, I
mean, we know but I mean, as a country, as a government,
but ignorant people in
we know this exists. Yeah,
and we're seeing it with our own politicians that are from our own backgrounds, literally giving them more rope to hang us with. Theoretically, I mean, and it is a slow bleed, and they got plenty of time. They're more than willing to wait. And there's a lot of ignorant people actually backing these people. And it's dangerous.
So there is a lot to be said on this topic because each of us have our own frame of reference, right?
I agree, yeah.
Like, I think that it's always the most amazing part about the internet is being able to combine ideas and be able to listen to other people's inputs from their own experience. And so South Africa, in its own right, speaking from my frame of reference, South Africa has got an extraordinary kind of setup where, because we've had the past struggles that we have, there are still areas that are predominantly a certain culture, and one of them being Muslim as well, where there have been for 30 years, 40 years, where there have been Muslim areas as well. And I'm not saying that area that take over from other people and push people out of their homes and that type of thing, which I've seen some of what's happening in the UK. As I said, I pay very close attention to what's happening there by you guys. I know that people are being pushed out of their homes, hotels are, and the government's having to use tax money as well to fund hotels full of people that are coming in through illegal means. And that is the whole point of it as well, is where you have a problem where we have law exists for a reason, and any logical person, anybody in their right mind, would know that the same reason that laws exist, laws should also be enforced. And when they aren't being enforced, and when they're being used against them, I think that was somebody else as well that mentioned briefly that sometimes the laws are used against them. That is absolutely terrible, and I really dislike that that's happening. But if people were, really living by the law the way that they're supposed to be, essentially what would happen is we wouldn't be seeing this. And that's why I'm saying, from my frame of reference from South Africa, we do have different areas that are predominantly a certain group as well. And why that exists is in its own a whole conversation. But the point being that we also have large areas of the country where there are genuinely all the different people from all different sects, cultures. South Africa has 12 national languages, 12.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have all of these different ethnical groups and cultural people, that's why I'm saying maybe a little bit of what we have here can be perhaps an example to the rest of the world, that we can live in unity. Because if we do not, right, we forego the capability of our civilization and humanity going forward and leading to progress. I think that when we can become emotionally mature as a globe, and we can realize that war is never the answer, right? We know this. Everybody that's been through any war will say that war is horrible. War is not I can really go on about that for a while, but we all know and understand that, yes, there are technological innovations that occur around war times for several reasons, and innovations through society are made through that, but there are other ways right now. And we're at the precipice of huge changes happening to society through technology, and I don't need to go into that. But what I will say is that, for the most part, maybe South Africa can be an example where, yes, we did have really fresh wounds about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You all know about apartheid. It's no secret. And then after that, what's happened is the reemergence of a country that's trying to build itself up, but is doing so with all of these different people from different sects. So I don't mean to be a fence sitter, because I dislike that strongly. I am on the side of families, and when I say families from all different cultures and walks of life, living in harmony together, because we can do so if we just get past that human innate feeling for war and bloodshed. And I'm speaking about from all different sides as well. I'm not speaking about from any specific group. I think that all groups have their own kind of their group identity on that as well. My main point
goes back to the lizard brain tribalism.
Yeah, but now that's the thing. Should we not be advancing as a human culture past things where we have such grievances, and rather just try to be more understanding and forgiving and kindness from all different religion and sects to try and live together? And I'm not trying to be unity and shit. I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Look at Japan. Look at Japan, Guardian. Guardian, look at Japan.
Yeah.
Japan's a perfect example of that. They got atomic bombs dropped on them, and look at them today. They have a understanding of being friends with the United States, the very people that basically at that period of time decimated them. And they come to the conclusion, look, this is no way to go about it. They both agreed, America and Japan. And then they've come full circle, and now they work together. So
there it is. Well done. Perfect point to bring up, Jake.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is 100% true. With the South Africa's a difficult one, because I've heard stories from my friend's father before he passed. He said it's a very, very difficult situation over in South Africa, and people have to take their safety extremely seriously in certain areas, because if they don't, it's unfortunate. You will get caught out. And I watched one of your streams with Shadow, where you talked about South Africa, and it was it the Sudlanders, the preppers? I went away and tried to research on some of these guys, and they are kitted, and their fear of what could happen in South Africa still to this day, in their own minds, is very serious. And I just don't. I wouldn't want to see the UK civil war or anything of that nature go that direction, because I do think it doesn't go the way we think it will. It's a very visceral, devastating. Like you said, war is devastating, whether it's internal or not.
The problem you have.
Sorry, Mike.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, please, it's your stream. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say that the problem you have is, like I said before, most people are sheeple, right? We know this. People follow. People are always looking for someone to follow, and it's as much as we can all say we get on. We're all different, like all over the world. Yeah, completely different. We probably end this stream and go to completely different types of lives, different things. You know, we can all get on and we can all talk really well, but there's one or two that's always going to be taking advantage. If it was world peace, somebody thinks that's an opportunity. Somebody will always think that's an opportunity. And where there's somebody with that mindset, there's always people to follow.
I'm always skeptical whenever somebody's like, oh, let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Like, I'm always like suspicious. Like,
it would be great. It would be great. I mean, I hate to be the complete geek of the group, but Star Trek has a future where it's a global, it's one world. It's one global world. Yeah. We're all together. And because there's other alien races, we found humanity in each other, and the differences become negligible.
You made it,
and I would love that. I would love that. But yeah, it's not a case of, oh, don't be a hippie and a tree hugger. It's like, we would all love that, but we've got to be realistic, right?
Have to reinforce the laws that exist there for a reason. And I'll allow. I think that Bob has a lot to opinion that I wanted to weigh in on this as well. I do. So quickly, what I'll say is that I do understand that, but if you want to, you have to hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's the definition of prepping.
100%.
You really have to. And that word hope is extremely important. We just have to, and I'm not asking for there to be fairies around and for us all to be singing Kumbaya, because it's a good point. I get you completely. I just think that it's also relevant to realize that we just have to try, to some extent, to really try and get along as best as we can. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, let Bob talk. So go for it, Bob.
No, thank you. I'm going to make this very short, and then I got to go and attend to some business. But okay, on the base level, my mentality is I can only control this much. That's it. Mm-hmm. The rest of it out there, I can't control that. Okay. So I'm so glad you mentioned the law so many times in the last few times you spoke, Guardian. Thank you very much. A good segue into what I have to say. All of you, no matter where you live right now, stay out of jail. Yep. I mean it. Follow whatever it is you're looking into to buy a new weapon, to do Look up your local laws and follow them. You do not want to go to jail, because if you go to jail, who's going to take care of your wife and kids? If you go to jail and you serve your time, and in the US and Canada, and you get convicted of a felony, they take away your passport. You cannot exit. You're stuck for the rest of your life if you can apply to get your passport back. That takes a long time. Do the smart thing. If somebody eggs you into a fight, get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Follow your local laws. Do not go to jail. That will destroy your future right off the bat. You've lost all your funding. You have to sell your home to pay for lawyers, all that. It's gone.
Also, as a prepper, you're jailing yourself in any SHTF.
The worst place to be.
The worst place to be.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So if somebody wants to fight with you or whatever, it's like, I'm going to stick with my guns. If somebody breaks in, I am armed and I am well trained, and I can really hurt you. If somebody comes in the front of the house, I'll hold them at bay with a weapon, and I'm going to go out the back door.
Because you have castle laws.
Yes, I don't want to take that chance, because if you get some guy who wears high heels at night, he's going to do anything he can to throw you in jail. Period.
What's that? The quote by Sun Tzu. It's like the art of like winning 100 wars is not fighting them, or something like that. It's that kind of principle, isn't it, Bob?
Like that. Stay out of it. Move back. This is just property. I'm going to go out the back door. Let the criminal come in and grab an armload of stuff and run out. Oh well, I can buy it again.
Yeah, live to see another
Stay
day.
out of jail. Yeah. And with that, gentlemen, it's good to talk to you all again.
I'll speak to you tomorrow, Bob.
All right,
Cheers, Bob.
Peace out,
Yeah, nice
guys.
talking to you.
Have
Have a good night, man.
Thanks for letting me up, Mike. Later, guys.
Anytime.
Mike, about the point that you said earlier with when there's a world peace, there would always be someone to try to start it. I thought that was a valid point because Christopher Hitchens, he said many years ago on Bill Maher's show, he said, if you are naive to the fact that there are not people out there with the same mindset of Bin Laden and you allow them to have a post-apocalyptic weapon and you think they won't use it, you are in an absolute, like, you know, you don't know what's coming. And I think that's the point that you were trying to make. People don't realize that no one wants to have to control people, because me personally, I don't like to be a controlling type, but I also understand if you don't get a grip on certain mindsets and things like that, they will control you. So it's either you or them. And when it comes down to it, this is why I talk about morals. We're only moral in a society that follows it, enforces it, like Guardian says, with the law, and what Bob said with the law. When it comes down to you versus me, I die, you die, nothing else is on the table. Or I'm going to be nice, you're going to be nice is off the table. It's you or them. All that goes out the window, literally goes out the window. You have to then go back to the primitive being that you are. Like
definition of survival, yeah.
When bears meet in the wild and just go at each other and last man stand. And it's a very savage way to interact with the world, but that's originally what we was, and this is what we've come from that slowly. But we have it's almost like human evolution is 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, you know what I mean? And the 1 step back is always the hiccup. It's the war, it's the famine, it's the thing, and then we jump out of it. Or it's the apartheid for South Africa. It's 1 step back, 2 steps forward, and we never seem to just have the 2 steps forward constantly. You know, the momentum. Something always happens.
Yeah. Liam Max says everyone is entitled to have their own opinions and beliefs. It's when they start to impose them on others, it becomes a problem. Charlie Kirk said, it's when we stop talking. It's when there's no more dialogue. That's when it becomes an issue. The fact that we can speak here, this is an open mic, right? So somebody could join here with the complete opposite opinion of all of us. We would have that discussion. That's the whole point.
Camping Kings has a good comment. I personally think anyway.
I think the UK is massively indebted to some shadow council that has bad intentions. There is some sort of twisted agenda being implemented for the downfall of the UK, divide and conquer.
There's a lot of
so I see why people think these things, right? And it's because we think there has to be a narrative. Right, it's the same thought process of you are the hero of the story. Yeah, you only have your world around you, what you interact with, and it's the same sort of thing. We think there has to be a reason. It can just be some people are mental. Some people are mental and live on a park bench, but some people are mental and have power, and they're always going to cause issues. And we're also, when you talk about the UK, is it an agenda? Or is it complete incompetence?
I think it's both.
Well, exactly.
I think it's both, Mike, because if you look, what is the chances, man, that the whole of Europe, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, America, countries that are worlds apart, literally across the world, are all having an influx of these people? Like, what's the chance of that? Like, okay, if Europe just had it and then it shifted a bit from the UK with the channel, I'd be like, okay, I can see the drip effect coming to us. But the fact that America has it, and then Canada has it, and they're not coming from the same border. They're not going through America to Canada. No, they're coming directly to Canada. So it's the same with Australia, right? They went to Australia, and with Europe, we have a bit of a bleed effect, I would say. They flush into Europe, and then they come from France to the UK on the channel. But of course they want to come to the UK.
I'm open to listen. I'm open to listening to like the theories, but I need to know the end game. What's the agenda? What benefit could it possibly have to them?
Right. Okay. Well, I can't say for certain. I'm not. I'll be completely honest. I can't say for certain that I know because I don't. But in my personal opinion, I think they want to dilute the individual cultures. Like when they say white people don't have culture, I think that's so insulting. We have language, we have architecture, we have cuisine. You know, you go to Italy, you have pizzas and pasta and so on and so forth. You go to France, you got pan of chocolates and fog's legs and whatever else they have. So the idea that white people don't have culture, well, let's now run with that. Now let's disperse a bunch of different cultures into white countries and completely dilute the white population. And they play the minority game. Oh, we're the minority. We're the minority. No, you're the minority in a white country. But if we look on a world level, whites are the minority.
Yes.
Whites are like 8% or 10% of the entire world. So look outside your own circle and understand. And
was it 8% or was it 13? I can't remember.
I could be wrong on that, but it's not far off. So I don't want to say for certain, but yeah, Dios, I think your number may be more right than mine. So yeah.
The agenda, according to Gatwick Scuba, is one world state where they control everything. 1984 is the template, and like I say, that's kind of what we mentioned. What I mean, the only reason I provoke it, devil's advocate, as it were, to say like, what's the agenda, what's the end goal, because it doesn't feel controlled enough to be that end game. That end game is what we saw kind of with world wars that we've already had. That's what was wanted there, you know.
Right.
And they achieve that by conquering, controlling. Do they think they're going to have control over these people? I don't know how it works, unless it's just like let it get to the point where we destroy each other completely and then they rise up as the only power. That's the only way I can see that working, but it's scary to even think that way.
I think Guardian might have a good point on that, because you said South Africa has 12 official languages and many different sects of, because obviously you've got Cape Flats and then you've got like the Muslim areas, like he said, and you've got predominantly white areas, and you even have rich areas on the Cape as well that people don't really know about, that aren't from South Africa unless you actually look into it. So I'd like to hear Guardian's perspective on that, of like how we could mingle many different types of people into one group and get along a lot better.
I think that the media has that whole, if it bleeds, it leads. So media houses their whole way of surviving and staying relevant and competing. All businesses are competing at their own levels. Media houses are competing at who gets the most attention. If it bleeds, it leads, of course, right? Mm-hmm. So what they want you to do is to be focused on anything that's negative and anything that's positive. I mean, how often people watch Fail Army much more than they watch People Are Awesome. Okay? Yeah. People Are Awesome is like, you can go People Are Awesome 2025 after the stream, stay around for Mike. But after the stream, you can go around and watch like People Are Awesome, and you'll see that like there's so many people doing incredible things right now, different talented people across the world. And if you go down rabbit holes of positivity online, and I'll get to the point that I'm making here as well quickly, but if you go down rabbit holes of positivity and the difference year by year in terms of much more people across the globe right now have access to clean drinking water. Every single year, that percentage goes up. Much more people live in much less people live in extreme poverty every single year. Nobody gives a shit. Damn it again. Nobody gives a damn, right? Like, I've been hanging around with the wrong guys. I'm sorry. I'm playing my S dropping there for the second time. I apologize, Mark.
It's not monetized. It's past the watershed. There shouldn't be any kids watching. You're fine, Guardian.
All right, buddy. I just don't want to, like, I don't know. I want to try and always be respectful. So the point that I'm making quickly, and to get down to it, is basically the way that I see it is like what's happening within the media is they do pinpoint there are legitimate crimes happening, and that's why if you want that to be done away with, there are much more advanced methods consistently of people being able to track who the perpetrators and criminals are. If you are committing violent crimes, then there should be a second Australia. we should allocate a specific island. I'm being absolutely serious. And we could perhaps just take everybody that's like anybody that's committing violent crimes, and anybody that wants to live in peace, allow them to live in peace in that, and we'll slowly merge and the world will carry on. And if there are violent criminals, we could legitimately, it sounds like a very outlandish idea, but I can guarantee you that like the threat of that itself will make people much more like aware of how they treat other people around each other.
Giant Alcatraz.
So yeah, like legitimately, we need to make sure that people are feeling safe within their areas, and that comes down to all people. And as a South African, from that context that you're mentioning as well about Jake, it comes down to seeing that people have been able to like live peacefully and within reason. Obviously, there's crime, and as the capability for people to get more access to jobs, and as unemployment starts to decline and people have a strong, the economy is consistently like tanking, but who knows how long that'll take before it actually starts to perhaps change. You have to have hope. But the point that I'm making as well is there is no point whatsoever in us going full scale, like aggressive towards one another, if the future perhaps looks really bright for the following generations. What example are we leaving? And that's really what I'll say about that. I know it seems airy-fairy, but realistically, we are supposed to, all wars are civil wars because all men are brothers, right? Across the world. We have more in common than we have like things that actually make us opposed to one another completely. And yes, there are differences as well, but people are afraid of change, and people are afraid of what they don't know, because fear leads to darkness, and darkness leads to hatred, and you know the mantra. But the point is that I'm making, that we need to just be accepting of other people, but not if they're crime entailed, and if they're being violent towards one another, then we should be extremely harsh on that once they've made sure that they're not supposed to be in our society.
Well said. Well said. People might say, Mike, oh, this isn't on the topic of the UK, but it is.
No, it is. The point of
other cultures, and other areas of the world where this has happened, to get an idea of what's,
Yeah, and what you say about the media and stuff like that, and the amount of people watching Fail Army over stuff like that, Guardian, I really like that point. It plays into the same point of, if I make a thumbnail saying we're all going to die tomorrow, I get 30,000 views. If I make a thumbnail saying I did this awesome thing, like, and raise this money for charity, 700. And it's just people prey on it and play on it, and it's for some reason, I don't know if it's morbid curiosity, I don't know if it's fear, but it will always get the clicks, it will always get the news, and it'll always be in the forefront.
I think it's a little bit of probably morbid curiosity, but it's kind of like the train wreck effect. You just can't look away.
Yeah.
I think places like South Africa have a lot of hope because they have a lot of land. People don't realize South Africa is a big country, bro. It's like 5.5 times the size of the UK. So if a situation arrives where they had to split and they had to put different people in different areas to monitor and basically just keep everyone at peace, if that's the way it has to be, they could do it. In the UK, we're so close, it's almost like we're breathing on top of each other. You go from one town in like a 10-minute drive to the next city, and it's a completely different place. Same with our accents, right, Mike? 10 minutes down the road, someone sounds different from you, and vice versa.
Oh yeah.
It's the same with ideology in the UK. You go 10 minutes down the road and they think completely different. Whereas at least in the States, it's a whole state over for the most part. I know they got cities in between, but it's not as prominent as it is in the UK.
In the UK, the whole separate sections like that as well. Most of the outraged left-leaning protests to what's going on, they come from or live in an area that is not as affected. They're never from the epicenter of these places. They're from somewhere where it's like 95% the same as them. So that's they don't see it. So that's why they're out protesting, saying, when we're saying things like we want, to control our borders, they're calling us right-wing thugs off our streets, because they just don't have the effect where they are right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think with the UK, we do towns and villages a lot better than cities nowadays. Now, it wasn't always the case. Obviously, our cities used to be beautiful, vibrant, whatever, but we know how that goes and has gone. But I think I live just outside of a city in a town, and it's a decent place. You know, we got a medium quality. It's no gated community or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. You know, when I drive 20 minutes up the road, it's like you've got to be on your A game when you go down certain things. You know,
that in a micro sense as well is the same in a city. Yeah, it's the same in a city. I can walk 5 minutes that way.
Yeah.
And I will be watching everybody like a hawk and holding my wallet tight. And I can walk 5 minutes that way and feel like that I could leave something on the street and nobody would take it and come back for it in an hour. It's microcosms of the same thing. And that's what it's like in a city. I wouldn't ever turn around and say, like, some cities are completely lost. I've been to areas of London that are beautiful, you know, and I know a lot of people separate that from England. You know, there's England, then there's London, it's its own separate thing. But it depends where you go, right? It's all minor areas, and that's what happens. And people in these areas suffer the most. So they're the most hard done by. So at some point, you know, the straw's going to break the camel's back, and that's the people that are going to lash out, rise up, attack, be easily swayed into some sort of ideology and stuff like that. People just being separated and lonely and on their own, and suddenly welcomed into a crazy cult that worships the purple penguin and wants to go out and run around naked with jello on. Although they would never think of doing that on their own, because people are welcoming them in, they feel wanted, they feel part of something. I know I'm making a ridiculous context there, but you understand what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying, mate. I do see what you're saying, and I think it's a very valid point. But you also have to understand that some of these areas that are nicey and people are priced out. I mean, look at Switzerland. They have like a billionaire's row. Even people with money can't go there because it's so expensive. It's the same in places like Monaco, right? It's a city-state. It's so expensive.
100% priced out of it, yeah.
And so
you pay for area.
Exactly. So it's like certain parts of London. They're in a nice area because they got the money to do so. People.
I was gonna say, look at the States right now, because we've welcomed in so many illegal immigrants, and we got so many. We've had unchecked immigration here for so long. It wasn't until President Trump getting back in the office for the second time we were able to rein all this back in. Like right now, I'm still not a homeowner. I'm still renting, and I'm hoping eventually I'll be able to change that. But like the average median starter home price for just a starter home, and one that isn't even necessarily considered a livable starter home, something that actually needs work, that might be gutted out. You're looking at, on average in the US, it's like over $400,000. If you want to find one cheaper for like $300,000, it's going to be completely gutted out. You know, it's just going to be stripped down to bare wall studs, and you're going to be starting with a blank canvas, which might not necessarily be a bad thing if you got the time, money, and patience to actually put that all together. But starter homes are starter homes for a reason. They're it's for young people or newlywed couples that are looking to start up a new family and everything like that. Well, like I said, the home. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but the home prices are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
because of the unchecked immigration.
Same here, Bo.
It's worldwide, and we've got
companies like BlackRock that have bought out a lot of the homes.
Absolutely, same here, bro. They come over here. They're starting doing that. What they've done in the States with Vanguard, BlackRock, all that. They're in the UK. They're starting to do the exact same thing.
And it's not just the I want to buy a house market, because in a country where most people's living expenses is 100% of their salary, so we've got 40-year-old guys living at home with mum and dad because they literally can't afford to get out. It's rental as well. Our rental prices have gone through the roof.
Like right now, my rent, the house I'm living in now, granted, rent here is still relatively cheap compared to a lot of places in the other places in the States, but like my rent went up from $1,000 to $1,100. Like if I was to try to rent this same house, this is one of the reasons why I left the state of Colorado. If I was to try to rent this exact same house I'm renting right now, I guarantee you, some landlord would get away with being able to charge $3,000 or $5,000 a month. It's not necessarily because they're making money hand over fist. It's because the demand for rental houses have gone up, and the property taxes have gone up.
Yeah, I did a cost of living video not so long ago in the UK. I did one a year ago, and I thought a year anniversary. Let's see how much it's changed, and I based it on average salary, which is quite generous, and I based it on minimum wage, which a lot of people are on, right? Working 40 hours a week, overtime when they can, and in a private rented house, this guy with the average salary ended up with about £100 left at the end of the month when everything was paid. And that's being frugal with shopping and stuff like that. This guy had about minus £600. So he literally couldn't afford to do that. And even with social housing, I was being generous. I was told in the comments with the prices I put for social housing. And even that is going up like hundreds at the moment. And it's just becoming, you cannot live in this country in a rented accommodation on a single person's wage on your own. If you've got two people working, brilliant.
And
this is why so much
here in the States too. Like I'm in between jobs, but like I'm having to sift through a bunch of BS truck driving positions that don't want to pay. It's like you're asking a guy with 7.5, almost 8 years of driving experience with a $10,000 driver's license to take on a truck driving gig that's only paying 15, 18, maybe $20 an hour. Yeah.
And it's just the math just doesn't math.
No, that's like I could literally go get a job at Walmart stocking shelves for $18.50 an hour rather than drive trucks for $18 an hour.
Yeah, and the stress would be a lot less, I'm sure, as well. But it's absolutely crazy because I think that affects it is people say we're way off topic. It relates to it.
Yes,
because it's making a population depressed.
This is the stuff that,
and we want change.
This is how a lot of the civil wars start. Is when the populations cannot afford their basic needs. When certain like right now in the States, marriage rates have completely plummeted. Now, I think what the average marriage rate for the average guy is about 30. Yeah, I'm gonna be 35 next January. I'm still not married.
We're engaged. We can't afford to get married. We could the cost of a wedding, even if we did it on the cheap, you're talking about £5,000. I can't save that. I'm a single income household at the moment. Yeah, that scary video I made, that is me right now. And on top of that, feeding kids, paying child support to exes, stuff like that. I'm not doing a woe is me thing. I'm saying a lot of the nation are feeling this pinch.
Yep.
And I've got 41-year-old mates, same age as me, who are living in HMOs, which are house of multiple occupancy. So they're renting a room in a house with loads of strangers because it's the only way they can afford to live.
So interestingly enough, on this topic, my wife and I were engaged for 9 years. So it is exactly, according to that, my wife wanted to have a beautiful wedding, of course. And I was most definitely willing to honor that and to just wait for the right time. And the only reason why we had gotten married was because of our company, just basically spoiling us as well, because we had just shown loyalty to the company, because that's the thing when unemployment's so rough, like that's the thing about South Africans, because unemployment's been so rough for such a long time, like we hold on to for dear life, like any opportunities that we've got, and we'll work those jobs for like an extremely long time. And like we really, really like pride ourselves as a country across all of the different ethnical boundaries and religious boundaries. We all practically have that same demeanor where we understand like that you have to work and hold on to what you have, because if you let that job go, I mean, really just getting a job is extremely difficult. So I guess it comes down to just being able to have that mentality.
I agree with that, actually. And on the topic of jobs, when Dios was talking about like Walmart paying the same as a truck driver, as a system, like, let's be honest here, yeah? Do you think you're going to get the most efficient workers if you pay them by an hourly rate? No, you're not, because they're going to be like, look, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the bare minimum and get paid whatever it is. But if you had a quota, if you say, hey, you do an extra 5-10 packages within this hour and we'll pay extra, you're going to get a more efficient workforce because the incentive is there.
You don't even have to theorize this. Look at any building site in this country. Okay, I did joinery. I did a joinery apprenticeship. Most of my apprenticeship was on building sites and only 1 day a week in college. And when we were on a site that was hourly rate, we'd just plod along and we were putting roof trusses up basically. So a crane would lower these roof trusses on, we'd space them out, batten them up, brace them all out, fasten them in place, ready for tilers to come on. Right? That's what we did. On an hourly rate, we'd do one in a day. We got a job rate where you were paid per roof. We finished 4 in a day. Yeah, 4 times more efficient because it wasn't an hourly rate. So you can look at that on any building site. If people are paid on price, on value for work, they work.
And Bill Burr said it. No, was it Bill Burr? The community? I think it was. He said, if you're a billionaire and you earned £1 billion profit that year, but you didn't increase the wages or incentivize your own workers to earn more, he said, why would it not hurt you to come home with 900 million rather than 1 billion? You know, it wouldn't hurt you. And I'm not one of these guys, tax the rich. People have earned their money the way they've earned their money, right? That's got nothing to do with me. I'm actually in favor of less taxes. That's a whole different topic. But if I was in his position and I earned £1 billion profit, I would absolutely take a personal pay cut to pay my employees more based on performance because I'm already doing good. And I think greed does, people talk about socialism, capitalism, blah, 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 right? Whatever. I think there's a bit of all of them that works, okay? Capitalism may be the best we have. I don't, it is what it is. I don't really care to go into that. But greed is a factor. Greed is a factor. Some of these companies' turnovers are huge. And I'm not saying they've got to give all their profit away, because they built the company, they own the responsibility of if the company goes under, so they absolutely should get a massive share of the profit.
Yeah.
But then it's like, who am I to decide how much they get? This is where the socialists and the commies come in. They're like, oh, we'll take 60%, and it's like, it's ludicrous. At what point? So I'm trying to be a fair person and look at it. But I don't want to be the guy to pull the trigger and say, no, we're taking 50% of your paycheck, because I just don't think that's right for me to do personally. And I don't think it's right for someone else to come to me and say that as well,
So civil wars, potentially, so then the chances of a civil war occurring obviously does go up when there's a bigger unemployment rate, when you have a large amount of the youth that don't have any jobs. Now, that ties into both what you were saying there as well, Jake and Mark. If you think about the way that, with your tiling and with your roofing, how much more efficient will robotics be within the next several years when it comes to your specific job? Now, this is a topic that we can touch base on like another stream at some point or something like that at a different time. But I think that the efficiency as robotics increase and the capability, you see it all the time. Every week, there's like a new robot that comes out that's more capable than the last. And it's just consistently increasing. You see logistic departments completely robotics, like within the logistics department, basically automated the entire factory. And that's happening more and more. And we're starting to see that. And then now, wouldn't that be, when you speak about socialism and capitalism, Jake, wouldn't it be fair to say that as that increases more, can you imagine the amounts of jobs that are going to be like taken away in the next several years? And because of that, Brad, won't that mean that we will have to have some sort of universal basic income? That's basically what we're on the road to becoming. And if we had a universal basic income, wouldn't it start decreasing crime to some degree as well? Go for it, Mark.
I think it wouldn't decrease crime because of greed. I don't think you'd eliminate greed. That's your issue there, Guardian. The only reason I'm putting my hand up is because I was saying that's me. I was just agreeing with you. I'm a web developer by trade. Yeah. And 5 years ago, my phone never stopped ringing with recruiters for come and join this company for an extra this amount a month. Come and join this company for an extra this amount a year. Right. I recently changed jobs. Well, the company I was with was closing, so I had to find a new job. I had to take a £10,000 a year pay cut to go to the job I'm in now. It's more expensive for me to commute to it. My self-employment when it comes to web design has been completely written off by AI. Because so many people now, you've got a coding problem. If you used to come to me, I could figure it out. I could do the manual work. I could figure it out and fix it for you, no problems. Now you can copy and paste it into a chatbot that will fix it in seconds. Now hosting companies that you rent you the servers say, oh, do you want a website? Click this button and put your text prompt in and AI will build you a website. How can I compete with that? You're not going to pay me £350 for a basic website as Joe the Builder when you can just go and pay £10 for the hosting and click a button and have a website built.
Yeah.
And how many other trades are doing exactly that, Mark? In every single that you're in. If you had to ask the chat as well about how many jobs that the people that are in this chat right now, thank goodness it's Friday, people that are working heavily have, the heart for you guys, because obviously, like, I understand that work is difficult from Monday to Friday, and Friday evenings are an amazing experience. So thank you for being here with us as well, by the way, chat. And so just something that I really find is quite important is the fact that, like, if you ask anybody in any vertical whatsoever, manufacturing, aviation, logistics, like office work, corporate, wherever you are, people are advertising which AIs are coming on board. Even recruitment agencies are starting to use AIs to find viable candidates a lot more often. Like, there's a lot of cutting edge technology that's out there, and that's just getting more and more. So it really comes down to where you're speaking about your design work that's being kind of filtered out by AI. Like, that's just the way that it's going. And then it's just going to be interesting when humans, and like, I know that it is difficult for people because people are afraid of change, and all of us are, myself included to some degree. I've got to actively realize and like be aware of that, have the introspection to realize that I do have that same fear that all of us do to a degree, and that change is a consistent and we shouldn't fear it. And that's the whole thing where it comes down to like how the society and will potentially move forward when there is a universal basic income. And I know that you say that there might not be a decrease in, like, a slight decrease in crime, but I think that for the most part, once people start having, I'll say this, and I know that this is a bit of a controversial thing to some degree, but I think that we could learn from AI in terms of how to treat one another. And I know it sounds really strange when I say that, but I think that because of the way that AI is able to do tens of thousands of different trials in a very brief period compared to how long it takes for human understanding and cultural advancements and who we are as people, I think that like we could learn kindness, and it sounds so crazy, through the capability of AI to just kind of give us a little bit more light in terms of our wide opinion about the world and our knowledge in general. It could essentially boost the way that we view the world and how because I think that we are very naive in some ways. I mean, how long ago were we doing lobotomies as a civilization? Yeah. Are we really that advanced? I don't think so.
We're at the start. We're at the start.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
at the start. I agree with you. We think we're so far ahead. We're not. We are at the beginning. It's the same what we've been talking about with the civil stuff, with the unrest. It's the same with technology. We are at the beginning.
And I'm don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of AI to a degree. When it's used as a tool, right? In theory, with quantum computing, I know people think Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Skynet, and all of that lot. But if that's integrated, that system would come to the logical conclusion that war is pointless, like a lot of us realize, right? If that's implemented as well in a helpful sense, it makes our jobs easier, it makes us more efficient. But it falls down to that last thing I just said, greed. It falls down to greed, because if you make me more efficient and my team of 8 developers, if you make me more efficient with AI tools, you don't need to pay 8 developers overheads. You can pay 4. Actually, they're getting more advanced. We can pay 2. Actually, we just need somebody to keep an eye on, make sure it doesn't mess up. So at the end of the day, the jobs that are going to be left in IT is somebody like me, if I'm lucky enough to stay in the industry. I doubt it. Hence the reason me going for my interview at the army base on Tuesday. If I'm lucky enough to stay in the industry, it's going to be me monitoring to make sure it doesn't do anything wrong. That is it.
I think...
And it's greed.
You say about greed, and I agree with you on that point. But I also think it's a few other things. Now, Guardian was talking about a basic universal income for everybody once we surpassed a certain level of AI to take over many lower end or higher end jobs regarding operations. Even they're even using it for operations. They're testing it and using it. So it's serious stuff that like this AI can actually bring to a society in terms of its benefit. Now, there's also a downside to it. But if we're looking at greed, let's look at the lower echelon of society, people that don't have as much as others. Their incentive to commit crime is based on poverty and not having. It also comes from, in some cases, a lack of morals that have been taught to them from their parents that may have been the same way. However,
desperation trumps morals. I'm just going to throw that out there. I've got all the morals in the world, but if my child is starving,
yeah, well, it's survival. It goes back to the survival thing. Absolutely, Mike. But I think it's jealousy and sabotage. When someone has something that they can't get, there's two types. You've got the envious type, which I find myself to be more envious, and then you've got the jealous type. What's the difference? Envious is you see someone with something nice and you go, damn, that's nice. I wish I could have that one day. You don't have any hate towards the person that has the nice thing. Jealousy is a different thing altogether. It's he can't fucking have that if I can have it. And then there's this incentive. Well, I gotta take
tax
it
the
off
rich
or destroy it. And that's the evil. That's the jealousy is the evil. It's if he can't have it, I can't have it. So what do? They slash your tires on your nice car. They smash your window on your nice house. And so this is the problem you have. Is I'm not saying all poor people are like this. They're absolutely not. But when we look at the majority of crime, it's committed by people in lower echelons of society.
But more and more people, because of the cost of living, that's poor echelon of society 20 years ago. You used to be able to pinpoint it. And I don't want to stereotype people because there's nice people everywhere, but you used to be able to in this country going, yeah, don't go to that council estate. That's full of the, it's everywhere now. It's everywhere now. Right now, me earning what I'm earning now, but 10 years ago would be middle class. But last month, Super Chats paid for my food bill. Right? And I should never be in that position. So them morals that I've got slowly start to slip because you're getting pushed down, you're getting degraded, you're getting stood on. And it's not like if we could implement a universal, like everybody gets something. We've got universal credit in this country. That's the benefit system. But even that is a massively unfair, unjust system. That, it doesn't treat everyone the same. It doesn't give you anywhere near enough to have a quality of life. It gives you enough to have life, but it doesn't give you enough quality of life. So it just feels a million miles away. And I feel like I'm now in that lower echelon.
I feel I've basically been working class my entire life. There was actually a point in my life where, when I was younger, my mother was homeless with us, and we lived in a hostel, 1 bedroom, me, my mum, and my sister. And I don't like to say I'm poor because I wasn't. I was born in the UK, but in terms of I experienced what it was like for a short period of time to be at the lowest level for about a year. And even after that, once I grew up and I got my first job when I left school, I was still a basic laborer earning minimum wage, feeling the burden of like, God, is this going to be my forever? And that in itself can depress you. And I know people say, oh, just go get a better job. There are half the country are working these jobs. They can't all just go and get a better job. Now, you as an individual could seek out and slowly make your way up that totem pole.
But even it's getting harder every year.
It's a graft, like even my old man, like I said in the last stream, he's a bricklayer. He makes good money, but it wasn't always like that. And he said it took him years to get to the point of being a bricklayer that actually earned good money. Because for many years when you're a bricklayer, you don't earn good money. You're just on site with everybody else earning just above minimum wage.
But they're also taking out the options for us as well. The options, like if you say my IT industry, there's the jobs market in the IT industry is ridiculous. I spoke to somebody the other day. There's 250 people applying for one role, right? And that's happening with everything, and that could be an underpaid role. So it's absolute nightmare. But what can I do? Oh, I tell you what, I can go and join the police force. I can do something good, better for society, earn a decent living. No, they've took that away from us, unless you've got a degree through university. So please go back to university, spend 2-3 years getting yourself in debt, then you can do something good for society. They're taking the options away from us.
Yeah. Do you think this is also a reason for why civil unrest, like people are just getting frustrated and annoyed? You
Yeah,
talked about the
100%.
depression thing, but
100%.
getting pissed
Everything,
off with
everything
themselves.
else,
Go on,
everything else, like I said at the start, is an excuse. Religion, a war on religion, what the thumbnail is, it's an excuse. It's a banner to get behind. Left versus right, it's an excuse. It's a banner to get behind. Fundamentally, it comes down to quality of life. If you're in a prosperous country and everybody's got an abundance and everybody's got plenty of money and everyone's got plenty of food and the cost of living is, for example, a third of your salary, like many places were in the 90s and the early noughties, right? There wasn't as much crime. There wasn't as much war. There wasn't as much political unrest. If a
Like the
politician
West.
did something stupid, you'd laugh. Right now, everything feels like a nail in the coffin. And we are under pressure as human beings, fathers, brothers, everything.
Yeah. What you say
Sure.
about war stuff, Mike, like in the 90s and 80s, there's a lot of countries like in southern Eastern Europe which did have war. You look at Russia with Chechnya. They had 2 wars. Then you look in places like Rwanda, and so there was a lot of the West. I'd say majority of the West had a good period of time, but there are many countries we have to remember that didn't have a good period of time through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even the early 2000s. It's so I would say that. But on the other points that you said, though, I kind of agree. I think
It's what it boils down to. If you have a good quality of life and you got plenty of money, why are you going to kick up a stink?
you went. No.
Why are you going to risk prison?
Yeah. That's a really good, specifically like a good point to make, about the world leading towards moving gradually. And that's why I said originally that if you start looking at the positives, there are many, many positives. I do want to give you also a chance, because I saw that you wanted to say something, brother.
Yeah, well, I was going to say about the universal basic income. I see it honestly causing inflation. And
because of greed, right?
Well, it also lowers
it's not greed. It's the basic laws of economics. There is a set number of supply and there's a demand, and when demand exceeds supply, well,
Yep.
I mean, you've got all the currency chase. It could even happen with actual hard, physical, bullion. Let's just say we went back to trading with silver and gold again. Okay.
I agree.
Let's just say, that for some reason, there's a shortage of matches. Okay. There's only 10 boxes of matches on the shelf. For some reason, there's a major demand for matches. It wouldn't matter how much gold somebody brought in, at the end of the day, greed aside, it's like, you have to increase prices to an extent. Otherwise, you're just going to be cleared out. And then it's like, that's it. It's done,
It's like you said earlier, Mike.
Sorry, guys. Can I interrupt you for 2 seconds? Because Shadow's got to go. So I want him to be able to say goodbye rather than just in the private chat.
Shadow. Sorry.
I'll see you later, guys.
Have a good night, man.
Yeah. You
I'll chat to you tomorrow.
Anyone enjoying this tonight, the conversation will carry on Shadow Scout Swede's channel tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe to him. You've got notifications on, because every Saturday night, that's where the talking points are.
Thank you for the reminder.
Have a lovely day tomorrow, Shadow. Chat to you soon.
See you later.
Yeah. See you later.
Right. Sorry, Jake, I interrupted you there.
No,
but I didn't want him to just have to put a private chat in and disappear randomly.
I fully understand. It's I don't want to come across as rude, so absolutely, you should be able to say so. And that was it. Dior was on about the hidden inflation. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, like I said, supply and demand.
Exactly.
Supply and demand. And yes, there will be cases of greed. There will be cases of people scalping. But like I said, then you're gonna run it's gonna be like the fall of the Weimar Republic. They had all those German Reichsmarks. Wheelbarrow full of Reichsmarks couldn't get you a loaf of bread. And well, I see that being a similar issue with universal basic income. Like I said, I mean, it sounds grand, but paper. Plus, it brings up another issue. Well, now we got people that okay, we've got the option to not work anymore, and they won't work. Okay, well, what do non-productive people typically do? I mean, they kind of go down the route of destructive, tendencies.
Two ways to look at it.
That's because
go
we
on,
have.
Go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, stress at all.
I'm sorry. You go ahead, bro, because it's really hard for me without a face cam. I can't. I need to get a face cam so you can see when I'm about to speak, because otherwise it comes across as me interrupting, and I don't want to come across.
No. I can easily hold my thought on that specific topic. It's no stress at all. I'd love to hear your point first.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So with the hidden inflation, it actually, like Mike said, he used to be upper middle class or whatever the case, or middle class, sorry, and now he's coming down. Well, that's because every time you raise the minimum wage, you're actually lowering the higher earners' spending power, and that is a form of lowering everyone's wealth. Also, with the influx of more people into a country, if you don't have the subsidies, like, what good is it making $100,000 a year if you have to spend $100,000 a year to live? It doesn't. So there are countries in Eastern Europe where their wage is like €1,000 a month, and they have a better way of living than certain places like California and the United States, and yet they out earn them 10 to 1.
Yep.
So it's a matter of principle and pricing and economics. So that's how. Sorry, but that's all I have to say. So you can go ahead, Guardian. My bad.
No. I'm enjoying the stream this evening as well and the conversation. So what I will add quickly on this specific topic is that I know that the way that we have been seeing things for a while, right? When it comes to imagine like going back to a lot of those innovative machinery that they used to use. I actually have a couple of hand tools myself in case there's a electrical power outage, we actually experience a lot of that here. We have experienced rolling blackouts for the last 2 decades, so we are very familiar. Everything I own is like solar powered, like everything. Casio G-Shock 6900, like solar everything,
Smart.
as much as I possibly can, and candles and that. So the point that I want to make is that when it comes to the mentality and the mindset that we currently have within like the world as well, and the culture like that we share globally, I do believe that there's one thing that we could kind of like change. Just give me 1 second real quick. All right, perfect. So on us, I do believe that the way that we see things is, and as I said earlier, sometimes myself included, very prehistoric in terms of the way that we view the world and the potential for human capacity. If we are the blinking light in the universe, and this is the intelligence that is within the universe as we know, unless 3-hour Atlas passes or whatever, different story, but like just joking about that. But if we are the only glimmering blimp of life and intelligence as far as we can possibly see, isn't it so much more sacred? And shouldn't we be doing absolutely everything in our power as a human civilization to try and, get along with each other instead of like this warring mentality that we've got, and try and actually move forward past that type of mentality when it comes to being scared and being cautious? Because I know there are fears, and rational fears too, where things could absolutely turn like 100% really bad real quickly. And you say that idle hands, become quite dangerous and people become more inclined for crime. I think that if people had a more enlightened way of seeing things, consistently the human race is becoming more enlightened as we move forward, right? So as we start seeing that, we can absolutely, I know it's interesting at the moment, but I'm on top of it, Mark. Don't worry, I'm all about that. I really do have a lot of focus on the 3-hour Atlas scenario at the moment. So from ourselves, what I really will say is that I believe, and I really mean it when I'm saying myself, I think every single human being has a lot of growing up to do in some way, in terms of where we could possibly see, and the future will bring about like a new way of seeing things. And I just really want people to be like much more understanding with one another, and we will start like experiencing that more and more. Look how like this whole we're in the period now. If you look up the long peace, Google the long peace, and you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. This is like the longest stage of like that there's been a mass scale war for a really long time. Human beings,
World
in
War II, right?
retrospect, are doing really well. Like we are just it's almost our tendency. That's why the zoo hypothesis could be real, where we are like the Australia of the universe. They dropped off the bad guys here, and this is what we'd be doing. But like, it really comes down to understanding that we may have we may be able to evolve mentally if we give ourselves half a chance. And I think that human capacity is incredible, and we should spread the capability that we have to make a beautiful Earth that we have now in tandem with Mother Earth, to actually live that's what more advanced societies are already doing, living much more and having much more of like a economic and ecological perspective on the way that they do business and how they build things. And it's amazing. Human beings are advancing in those ways. So I think that if we can do that across the world, look how boring Mars is. Why not have like a second Earth on Mars? Terraforming through the AI and robotics. I'm getting really deep into it here, and I'm sorry, I won't go further down.
It's interesting as hell, bro. Keep going.
No, I'm good. I'm sorry. But I just believe that we could change our mentality, in short.
Yeah, well, and I will bring up too, okay, the industrialization too, it did make attaining everyday goods a lot cheaper, so maybe universal basic income could usher in, well, I guess it would be an industrial revolution of a sort, okay, where now things aren't as pricey because people can afford it, because now we've got AI manufacturing everything. That's a possibility too, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm just a little bit more skeptical, to say the least.
You're right to be so. You're right to be skeptical. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, Guardian, you were saying one thing I kept hearing you say was seeing. People need to see. I agree with you. People need to step back and really critically look, but you need to have observation. And how do you have observation? You need time. You need to back off. So many people in desperate financial and geographical locations don't have time. They are constantly going and going and going and going. Where's the next paycheck? Where's the next this? Where's the next meal? They are drowning. It's like they're so focused on drowning, they don't realize that they can actually just swim and see what the beauty is around them, the sunset, the birds. They're trying to hold themselves above water.
I haven't got time for sunsets and birds. I've got 3 kids and bills to pay and second jobs to get and YouTube videos to edit, and now reserve army to join.
I respect that though, Mike.
Reminds me of a song from the 90s, like "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked."
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, there's definitely no rest for the wicked at all. I'll
I'll
sleep when I'm dead.
Because it's people don't realize that, like, you as a father having kids, like, you clearly don't want to do some of this stuff, but you have to because there's an obligation there, and that, I can't help but respect that, because.
And I agree with you, and I do. I'm joking a bit, chat. I take the time to appreciate things like that. I have to, because unless you want to go and if you want to spend £1,000 on a game system or a couple £100 taking your kids out, what it costs these days to do anything, then great, that's good for you. But I can't, so I take them out into nature. We enjoy the free things. We appreciate the coast. We go to the seaside and stuff like that. So I do take time to appreciate things like that, but only because it's the cheaper option.
Have you heard of David Goggins' approach to like aid stations?
David Goggins pulled me out of a dark hole with some of his videos. I'm a big advocate of motivational videos, and he's one of them.
He used to do my head in a bit, and I used to be a real big fitness guy, and I used to think the guy was like great. But the more I dived into him and listened to his story, I was like, you know what? There's something to this. And he talked about aid stations, right? Joe Rogan's like, when do you rest? He goes, when I have a shower, when I stretch, when I eat my food. These are my aid stations. These are my times to just think of nothing other than what I want to do next. These are the times where I sit back and I observe how my day went, how other people's day went, and where is the trajectory of where I want to go. And I started doing the same thing. So rather than thinking, oh, I've got to get in the shower, oh, I'm tired, I used to say, no, that's my aid station. That's my recharge. So every time I get in the shower now, I have that mentality. And I tell you what, it switches your whole perspective on getting things done.
Definitely. This is why I'm a terrible YouTuber. All right. This is exactly why I'm a terrible YouTuber, because I did my
David
cycle.
Goggins, where did I hear that name? God damn, that sounds familiar.
He's an ex-Navy SEAL, I believe. He does a lot of motivational videos. So he's done lots of books and stuff. I'm not sure if it was Navy SEAls or something else,
Yeah,
but
Navy
yeah,
SEALs.
he's great.
Oh yeah. I think he wrote the book
He's the
called
guy.
Can't
He's
Hurt
the
Me
guy
or
jogging
something
in the vest and shouting motivational things at you while he's running along the street.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
He wrote a book called "Can't Hurt Me" or something like that.
Yeah,
audiobook's amazing.
I'm a terrible YouTuber because when I go to things like when I went to the prepper meet or when I go out into nature foraging with the kids, I don't film it all and put a video up about it. I enjoy that moment. That is my aid station, as you were saying, Jake.
Yeah,
And that's why it's like started doing a few videos of me camping out overnight, right? Purely because it costs me less to get a campsite near work than it does to commute there and back. So for 2 days I've got to be in the office, I camp out instead. I've put a couple of the videos out there, but sometimes I just sit there. Nothing else around me, no one else around me, and I just sit there. I'm not meditating. I'm not thinking about something specific. I'm just in the moment.
Slowing down a bit.
Yeah.
You need to slow down, specifically because life is so fast these days. And like
100%.
that's one of the things. I'm just asking, do you have a garden outside?
I do, in progress. Right now, I have a large mud patch where I removed all the grass for new. But yes, I do have a space. Yeah.
So ideally, the reason why I ask that as well is even if some people only have a balcony space or something small, but creating an environment where you allow yourself to be in sync with nature. And for the most part, like I've always been a gardener. I've always loved it. Came from my grandfather, who I used to call Papa, because he was my dad. My dad like went to fetch cigarettes at 3 and didn't come back and that. But like our whole generation, really. So basically, when it came down to my grandfather stepping in, he was very much an avid gardener. And through his gardening, I definitely learned that the unison between and the kind of synchronization between human beings and the plant kingdom and what it actually feels like to grow a plant and to kind of be a shepherd and to guide. And then what you start looking at as I've gotten older is more because I went through a stage where I was trying to grow annuals a lot, and I was growing more like lettuce and cabbages and specific annuals. So like more your year after year, you got to replant them. You got to, turn the soil as well. You got to like do crop rotation. So all of that's quite interesting. But then I got into permaculture and building like a food forest and having like a food forest. And that's why I say, if you've got a garden out there, the way that you can turn that mud patch by looking into local, and this applies to everybody in chat right now, the way that you can look at applying the small space, that's why I say, even if you've got a balcony, but to make it extremely, and that's what human beings need. We haven't been living indoors for as long as you may think when it comes to like how our housing structures are. So a part of our, and like DNA has memory. And because DNA, and they've proven it as well, DNA has memory, and because your DNA has memory, your DNA itself, every part of your being, wants there to be more of a natural environment around you. It's why you find such high depression rates in built-up cities throughout the world, where people have no time for each other. They just want to, get things done. And then when you go into smaller scale areas, like some of your farming towns and that, you'll find that if you stopped on the side of the road, your car's broken, the next person that's passed is going to stop, because that's what it's about there. It's living more closer to nature, which taps into the capability of humans to get along with each other more. And I'll just say it quickly here as well, where if you have the capability to look at the plants which grow efficiently in your region, depending on where you are, and if you have the capability as well to just spend a little bit of time and start off very small, you put like 1 or 2 fruit trees in, and over time as well, and I'm really trying to advocate for this so that people can understand it. Or even if you've got a balcony, you can put a little lemon tree on that balcony. You can grow a couple of herbs around there. You can make it more of a green, eco-friendly space. And when you're capable of doing that, just on a small scale, you're absolutely able to have so much more peace. As Mark was saying, being out there in the camping area and just being able to be out there in the woods, create a space like that so that not just when you go out there, so basically, like when you are at home, you have the ability to go into that serene area and stop thinking, because the world is consistently throwing you with all of this, like whether it be social media or the job that you have, or how many, it's Dunberger's number is supposed to be 150 people that we know. We know way more people than that, right? Through jobs and through the world that's interconnected.
Yeah, that's that 150 people you can have the closest relationship with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like so basically that number itself is there for a reason.
It's not say you can't know more people than that. It's the people that you can have the most meaningful, closest relationship with.
Yes. Because past that, it completely loses context. Like it starts dissipating. It almost has like negative kind of effects as well. But what I'll say, closing up here, is I've really loved the interactions as well from the chat this evening and for the panel. It's absolutely amazing to speak to you guys. My point that I'm making, and if I can leave you with this thought as well, is just by slowly starting to plant small like gardens, because what that does is it encourages other people. And if you've got people that are stressed out and there is a potential for a civil war to take place, then you want people to start, and this applies to everybody, you never know who might be walking past a little small garden space, also, see the beauty of it, and also want to start instilling that within their own lives. So just plant seeds of thought everywhere, and just try and be kind and compassionate to the people that are within your life, and stay safe out there and just stay alert. Anyway, cheers for now, Mike.
Before you go, I have had that on a very micro scale. I worked in the city and I got a bonsai tree. Sounds stupid. I know it's not fruiting or anything like that. I got a bonsai tree for my desk at work. It changed my entire aura at work. It was just, I could take half an hour out of looking from screens and just tend to this thing and shape it and grow it how I wanted it. It was great.
Color green is... If you type in the color green, it's the most elusive to our
Guardian,
eyes.
I hope to see you tomorrow on Shadows.
You know you will.
Okay,
that's my bar evening is jumping onto a PC. I mean, 20 years ago, me would have definitely not agreed with this being my Saturday evenings or my Friday evenings, but there's so much wholesome like engagement and entertainment in this that it absolutely fills all of that social criteria. So I love it.
It's 11:30 on a Friday evening here. 20 years ago, I'd have only just started at this point.
That's one of the beautiful things about appreciating things like this, appreciating the moments and people around you. I love it. We will chat very, very soon. Thanks again for everything, chat. And it would be just 4 people talking nonsense to each other if it wasn't for you guys being around here and supporting. So thank you very much.
Nice talking to you, Guardian. Have a good night.
Cheers, Guardian. Thanks very much. Any of you guys don't know as well, if you just search on YouTube for the name Guardian Prepping, you'll find his channel. And it's a great channel to follow, and he does some awesome challenges on there as well. So go and check that out.
The color green, like you're on about like plants and stuff, the color green is the most elusive to the human eye. This is why they have green on go signs, because it's the one you quickest respond to with the human eye. This is why people use green on reticles of guns more frequently now. Because
I know this fluently because I work in design, and changing a checkout button on a shop from red to green increased sales by about 30%. Because it's subliminal. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. It's psychological. So when you go into nature and you see trees, you may not know it, but that green is elevating your psyche. And it goes back to what Guardian was saying with DNA. It's the thing it's like fear. Why do we fear? The lion in the bush, or is it the wind rattling? You take off regardless because it's survival. It's built into you over, and like you said, they've done studies on it. There is absolutely factors to it that predicate as you go on throughout life and different generations and so forth. So yeah, he's on to one there.
Thank you, Evil Girl, for posting Guardian's link.
I'm gonna step away real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say we've probably got about 5-10 minutes left anyway before.
I know we usually BS afterwards, unless you got somewhere to be after this.
I'm half an hour late for an appointment with my bed. So.
Okay, well then, you know what? I will stick around until the end of the stream then.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you guys have got any final points on this before we go, then now's the time, really.
All right. Well, my last final point. Okay, and I like I said, this was from another YouTube channel I was watching, and you know what? I actually do agree at this point. If the U.S. goes into a civil war, more than likely they'll actually probably trigger a world war or some sort of world conflict. We are literally the stopgap for the Western world. Like it, love it, hate it. That's the truth.
Yeah, and the economies of a lot of countries.
We are the stopgap for Western values, Western culture. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna have bad individuals out there that will probably try to make their power moves once they're gonna try to fill in the power vacuum. That's what I should say. Once America is brought offline.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's propping up a lot of economies around the world as well. And when the economy goes, that's when rational thought and civilization tends to follow. Jake, anything from you before we close up?
No, I actually think I covered most of the things I wanted to say tonight. Apart from the fact that I missed the first 10 minutes. It wasn't as bad this time. I didn't miss the first 50 minutes, but no, it was a good live. It was a good live. I liked the topics a lot. I think it was nice seeing some more people from Shadow Stream come on over and talk as well. Nice meeting you, Dorse, as well, and Guardian,
nice to meet you,
Bob. Yeah, I think it was a good live. I think we as a society do need to not be so angry towards each other, though. And I fall victim to it as well. I get tempered, I get pissed off, but I try and correct myself, and that's all you can do. That's literally all you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And your homework, Jake, should you choose to accept it, is to find a camera. Thank you to my guests, everyone that's joined this evening. Dios also has a YouTube channel, just at Dios. What's his top name there? So make sure you go and check that out and show him some love there, and check out his channel and give him a like and all that lovely stuff that the algorithm likes. Jake, I don't think you've got a YouTube channel, so I can't plug anything for you at the moment, but I do appreciate all of you coming on. I am going to have to jump straight off after this, gents, so thank you very much. Thank you, chat. Thank you for the super chats tonight. They do make a massive difference to me and to the channel, so it's really appreciated. And we will see you all. Most of us will probably see you tomorrow night on Shadow Sleep live, so we'll see you then, if not in another video. So, goodbye.
Good night.
Later.
And then I find the button. There it is.